back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Jacob deGrom has thrown thus far this season, 58 pitches at 100-plus miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay?
He's the best hitter.
He's number one. Yeah, right. He's number one.
They need his bat more than they need his arm.
He's the Shohei Ohtani of the Mets.
They need his back.
Well,
that's the only reason why they need him in there.
Well, that's kind of my point. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, Harry Lug Nutz.
Hello, Harry Lug Nutz.
How the hell are you?
You know, it depends on who you ask.
This is true.
I'm doing okay.
Really.
I'm doing okay.
Mr. RadioPete will be along momentarily. He got tied up on the train or in the train or over the train or under the train. Something to do with the train.
Hopefully he's not tied to the tracks. As long as he's not tied to the tracks.
If he's tied to the train, maybe. But
sure.
That could be. He could be getting somewhere fast, if that were the case.
Right.
So how's Denver?
Denver's okay. It's been nice weather the last couple days. And, the Nuggets are re-signing players to long-term contracts that I'm not sure they deserve, but it's okay. These days, if you can hang on to a bunch of above-average players that are role players, then maybe something good will come out of it.
Maybe
the whole city is riding high on the Broncos' big victory over the Division II college football team last Sunday.
Yes, Division II. I thought it was Division III.
Oh, no.
They got promoted last year.
I think they moved up a little bit. Yeah.
Did they? Okay, fine.
Some of them did, not all of them.
No. This is true. But in any event, by the way, just before we get into any sports, did you hear this? Burger King just came out the other day. Burger King permanently banned 120 artificial ingredients from their menu.
120 artificial ingredients. Now, did Burger King ban them or the FDA?
No. Burger King banned them. Burger King banned them from their menu. They're removing them and banning them from usage on their menu. 120 artificial ingredients.
Let me. This is sort of a crazy question, though. Why do you need 120 artificial ingredients to begin with? How many artificial ingredients are still left?
I don't.
That's what I want to know.
Is 120 all of them?
How many artificial ingredients does it take to make a food type product?
I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think the bottom line is I think it's just going to be pickles for everybody at this point.
There's probably a ton of artificial ingredients in those. Yeah,
that's true too. Yeah.
Who even knows if it's
cucumbers?
Cucumber?
Just the cucumbers before. That's it.
I don't know. Are they cucumbers or are they a pickle type substance? You just don't know.
Substance. Right, that's true.
Made from the scraps of other artificially made substances.
Right.
Who knows? It does not impact me at all. I think the last time I ate Burger King was probably in the 80s, maybe early 90s.
Maybe early 90s. I've seen you eat plenty of McDonald's in my day. Then again,
McDonald's, yes. So that was also, early 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Craziness. But, yeah, I saw that. I thought it was interesting. I had to bring it up. But so, anyway. Baseball. There's still baseball left, huh? Like 2.5 weeks.
There's a ton of baseball. Everybody's bunched up trying to get wild card spots. What's a wild card spot?
And there's only 16 available wild card spots, right?
Well, there's actually only 4 available. That's
it's not last year. I forgot. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean,
everybody makes it.
And it's the American League East is a tough division to be in right now. All 3 of the 4 teams are tied for the lead in the wild card.
Right. Well, what's funny is the American League. The American League is working it, but the National League wild card, with the exception of the top wild card spot, because clearly the top wild card spot's either the Giants or the Dodgers, right? Whichever one doesn't win the division, the other ones get the top wild card spot. I think at this point nobody can actually catch them either way. At this point,
they're both. It's amazing that they're both right there in the same division.
Yeah, but But everybody else, it's like who doesn't want it, or who wants it the least because they keep losing at the Mets, as horrible as they've been, and I know they beat the Yankees a couple of games over the weekend, but they still suck. But they don't suck particular specific people, but as a team, and I'll get into my rant in a minute. They just as bad as they keep showing each and every night, and we'll get into the last night and Saturday for that matter. They still are in it. They're still only a few games out. So, but anyway, last night specifically, Rojas, he just doesn't know how to manage. He doesn't know what a double switch is. He doesn't know how to handle relief pitchers. He puts them in without even thinking ahead, and they get one inning whether they have to or not. You get a relief pitcher that's pitching a good game, but you put him in, with his spot due up next, and you don't make a double switch. What happens if he throws 3 pitches and he's cruising and gets everybody out? You can put him back in the next inning, but now you can't because you're not going to bat him, right? So, and he did exactly that last night. He had Hembry in there, threw a solid 10th inning, did not double switch. The pitcher spot was up in the bottom of the 10th, and of course they had the bases loaded with 1 out and couldn't scratch a run across and win the game. So he brought Reed in the top of the 11th. He gave him 3 runs. Unbelievable.
Yeah, the Mets are a below 500 team that's.
Mets are a below 500 team and we'll wait for him to reconnect to finish his thought. There we go. He's back. They're below 500 team that what? And we're still waiting. All right. Something is up with Mr. Lug Nutz's connection. So there he's back now. And he stopped again. Harry, if you can hear us, it's probably best if you bail and come back. I got a feeling something's up with that particular link. So try it again. It's happened a couple of times. Anyway, I will vamp till he gets back. As I said, it's just ridiculous. And he brought Reed in the 11th, and then up. There we go. And look at oh my God, there's 2 of you on the screen, and you're both frozen. That's even better. Look at that. I'll bounce the one. This is funny. Actually, I'm going to take a screenshot of that. That's pretty good. There's 2 of you, and you're both frozen. All right. Let me kick this one. There, you're back now.
All right.
There we go. The Mets are below 500 team. That what?
They're only 4 games out of the wild card. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
It is. It's just ridiculously amazing that's how the state of affairs is in the National League right now. The thing they did the other night too, Saturday night on whatchamacallit, the Yankee game that the Yankees won on Saturday night. They had Lugo in the 7th inning. Taijuan Walker pitched 6 good innings, with the exception of the 5 runs he gave up in the 2nd, right? He pitched 6 solid innings. They brought Lugo in the 7th. He pitched 7 pitches in the 7th inning. Okay, 7 pitches. And he didn't do any double switch. He didn't bring Lugo back out in the 8th, which he obviously could have done. He threw 7 friggin' pitches. That's it. And he brought Trevor May in the 8th inning. And what did he do? He gave up 3 runs. It's the same old story day in and day out. Luis Rojas, I'm sure he's a really nice guy, and he's got to go. He does not know how to manage a ball club, especially down the stretch. He just does not know how to utilize his bullpen. He does not know how to make switches. It just, it's pointless to continue to talk about. It's just stupid at this point. How about it?
I agree.
So, but couple positive notes. Javier Baez is tied for first in the league in hits right now. He has 21 hits out of 50 for the month of September. At the moment, he has 21 hits out of 50 at bats. His average is .420. He's got 5 home runs and 10 RBIs, and his OPS is 1.308.
Good pickup.
He's on a tear. He really is.
I think that was a pretty good pickup.
Absolutely. He keeps this up, and he's actually getting a little bit more plate discipline too. So if he keeps this up, he's actually, they got to re-sign him. It'd be stupid if they don't.
Just for his colorful, childish antics too. I mean, it's
hopefully that's done.
When when guys from different countries argue on the base paths, do they need a translator to come out to trash talk for them? I'm just wondering.
Who are you speaking about? Go ahead. Are you speaking about Mr. Lindor and Mr. Stanton?
Still cutting in and out.
You're cutting in and out. You're back now.
This is a pain.
So,
am I back?
You're back. Are you talking about Lindor and Stanton the other night?
Yeah, and Baez and everybody else.
Yeah,
come on.
So. Yeah. I actually don't think they were arguing in Spanish though. That's the odd thing.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it looked like you could actually read the lips of what they were talking about. I did see the word whistle and stuff like that. But anyway, who knows? That's a little ticky tack, right? Who the hell knows what they're doing? I mean,
everybody shut your trap. No one in that argument has any sort of has performed well enough to be yapping on the base paths.
Yeah, I mean, at the position that the Yankees are in right now, and how they've been playing baseball over the last 3 weeks or so since the 13-game win streak.
Since they got hot. Yeah,
since they got hot, since they've gotten cold at this point, how they've been playing baseball and how the Mets have been playing baseball. Neither one should be talking to each other about stupid stuff like that. Just let it go. Yeah, the only other thing I got just to mention for the Mets is Diaz on the road right now. I don't even want to talk about this guy. On the road this year, his ERA is 7.48. His opponent's average is 3.02, and he has 5 blown saves already, and that's only in the last maybe 3 months, 2.5 months. 5 blown saves. And the bats last Wednesday. This is after our show last week, after the podcast last week, in Miami. They're playing the Marlins, right, the bottom of the division, right. Of course, the whole division is at the bottom of the division, but that's besides the point. Their bats last Wednesday in Miami, they went 4 for 32 with 2 walks and 15 strikeouts. That's it. Ridiculous. So.
Yes. Yes. It's, I don't know. Look, I don't think the Yankees are obviously a better team than the Mets. They don't necessarily always show that when they play each other. Yeah.
But I think what he was going to say is that he loves the Mets and does not want to be a Yankee fan anymore. Oh, now he's back. Is that? Oh, then he dropped again. I think he's going to. No, that wasn't what he was going to say. No, the Mets, the Yankees have the ability to play better ball than they've been playing. The Mets actually have the ability to play better ball than they've been playing too. I got to give the edge to the person that has a better. I don't want to say track record, but better smarts, baseball acumen, if you will. And you think Luis Rojas would, with the family he comes from and what he's done so far, but he is not showing it at all in this, at all since he's been the manager, I should say, but certainly not in the last couple months. It's just a shame. But of course, Aaron Boone, has a little bit. He again, baseball family there as well. He has a little bit more on the ball and a little bit more to work with too. It's a shame, a lot of the injuries and things that set the Mets back. But like I said, if you're not going to make the right moves and you're not going to make the right, pitching decisions, especially bullpen utilization, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's just ridiculous that, this is going to continue and continue and continue, and nothing's going to happen with it. Something has to happen with it. There should be no reason why, they're losing the games they're losing. They have been in more one-run ball games and lost those one-run ball games than I think any team in history. Let's put it that way. Certainly this year. But it's it is what it is. There's 2.5 weeks left of the season, and barring anything unforeseen, a big change in Atlanta maybe dropping down, and we're referring to the Mets here, obviously. Atlanta may be dropping down, losing a bunch of games, and the Mets actually playing good ball and Rojas making the right decisions and everything coming together, so to speak. They're not even sniffing the playoffs. And to be quite honest with you, even if they get there, with the teams that they're going to have to get through to get anywhere in the playoffs, it's not going to happen. There's no way they're ever going to be able to, do anything, get anywhere in the playoffs. Their best bet is to just play for next year at this point. And I know it's the same old story. Here we go, September. But at least it's, the middle of September we're saying it. It's not the end of July and we're saying it. So, but, unless, Atlanta, Philly's ahead of them by a game in the wild card race. Whatchamacallit. And San Diego and who else? Right now, the first wild card spot right now is owned by the Dodgers or the Giants. The Dodgers right now. The Giants are in first place. So whoever loses the division, so to speak, they're going to be the first wild card, and the second wild card right now goes to, I guess it's Cardinals. Cardinals by half a game, looks to be right here. Anyway, moving over to the American League, though. The Yankees are, 8.5 out of the division. They are 8.5 out in the division. They're half a game behind Toronto for second place in the division. And there we go. Just had to check my text there. Mr. Harry Lug Nutz is restarting his computer because he says Chrome sucks, and I do agree. It does. A lot of things suck worse now, computer-wise, than they have in the past. That's certainly for sure. But in any event, back to baseball. Tampa is got a firm lead right now. We got 2.5 weeks to go, and they're 8 games ahead of Toronto, and 8.5 ahead of the Yankees and Boston, for that matter. But yeah, they're. I don't know what the Yankees. The Yankees have a better chance of making the playoffs than the Mets. That's for sure. But they got a lot of work to do. They're not going to catch Tampa. Unless Tampa just falls apart, they're not catching Tampa. Their best bet is a wild card, and there's a lot of other teams around them. Right now, Toronto owns the first wild card, and the Yankees and Boston right now are tied for the second wild card, but by 1/1000th of a percentage point, the Yankees are ahead of Boston, so that doesn't actually get them the nod. But right now they're tied. They're both 8.5 games back of Tampa. But as Harry Lug Nutz was saying, 4 of the 5 teams in the AL East are in command of, their destiny to some extent, obviously. Both the Yankees and the Red Sox are not both making it. They are, one of them will, obviously. If it comes down to a tie, there we go. And we have Radio Pete is now here. How are you, Radio Pete? How are you?
What the hell?
What the hell? Just to catch you up, I've been vamping about baseball for several minutes. Harry Lug Nutz had to restart his computer.
I just got updated.
Because his Chrome updated, and he had to. It was very glitchy. Every time he started talking, he said about 3 words, and then he froze, and then came back and finished the last word of the sentence. So it was kind of interesting, actually, if you put it all together.
I might have left it that way.
It was pretty good, actually. But in any event, he restarted.
Guy talks too much.
Right. But he restarted, and he'll be with us presently. It's funny too. This is the same podcast, and I started with him, and we were waiting for you, and now I'm with you, and we're waiting for him. So all in one show.
That's why you're the host.
I try. We're all co-hosts.
We're just peripheral flies buzzing around.
Not at all.
73. Nice. Is it his birthday or something?
No. I just felt like wearing Klecko today.
Oh, all right, cool.
So, but there you go.
Did you headbutt a truck?
I did.
And you thought, I got to wear a Klecko jersey now that I've headbutted a truck today.
Exactly. Are you back? Harry, how's your Chrome? And he's frozen again. Oh, man.
I don't know what to say.
Oh, there you go. Now you're back now.
If it keeps trying.
Well, what I would do if I were you, I know you could hear us. What I would do is I would just keep talking, and we'll just have you. There we go. Right there. There you're back. You're back more than you're not. It's better than it was, but
I don't know what's causing it.
Is it your Wi-Fi?
I don't think so.
You got to upgrade that Pentium 3, bud.
He's got an iMac.
I got a Mac and Chrome. They don't like each other.
Yeah, no, Mac doesn't like stuff
Well,
they
that's
didn't
it.
create.
I'm on Chrome on my iMac as well, and you've obviously both vamped when I dropped out, so you know how that goes. So.
Well, I'm on Windows and I never have any problems.
Yeah, until your computer crashes.
Exactly. All right. Pete.
I don't know.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was really good, actually. What's funny is there's like no background noise for you, so I actually thought you did freeze when.
If I didn't have to breathe, I would have held it longer.
There you go. That's pretty funny.
But unfortunately, that got in the way.
I don't know why I keep.
Reason. Well, what's good is it's better than it was before. So hopefully it works itself out, and I've seen that happen before. So just to catch you both up, I got us pretty much through the National League, and I was just talking about we were just talking about
the multiple Johns we're talking
multiple
about.
Johns right now. Me and Joe Klecko. We're talking about the American League. How the American League East. I think it was where you were going, Harry, before. How the American League East is 4 teams pretty much in control of their destiny, playoff wise, coming out of the American League East. Obviously, 3 will only make it, or 3 could only make it, I should say. But
yeah, I don't think there's anybody. I mean, unless Seattle goes on a tear, Oakland seems to be sliding. I think it's going to be, the White Sox, the Rays, and the Astros, and then two additional teams from the American League East.
Mm-hmm.
Being a Yankees fan right now, if I had to bet money, I would go with Boston and Toronto, although they have issues with their consistency as well. But the Yankees just can't. Yankees had an opportunity to win against teams they should have won against,
right? And
they didn't. And Aaron Boone continues to, in the height of a pennant race, experiment with different fielders who can't catch the ball in different positions every night.
Right.
Tonight we have Gio Urshela at shortstop and Gleyber Torres at second base. So the entire middle of the infield, which went from Velasquez and LeMahieu, is now 2 guys who can't seem to catch the ball.
Right.
But
I was going to bring that up, that Gleyber finally moved back to second base, but it's going to take him a little time to actually get used to playing second base again.
When was the last time he played second base? When was the last time he caught the ball there?
Right.
This is true, too.
And he committed his 19th error of the season last night.
If he's hitting 365 with 80 home runs and 140 RBIs, then the errors don't bother me. But he's not. And the Yankees defensively have 3 guys that they need to make decisions on. Right. And Urshela has been in the past a really good defensive third baseman. I mean, it's why he would come in the game for Andahar back a couple of years ago, but he doesn't seem to be able to. I'm not sure he's a shortstop, so we'll see. I think those 2 guys and Sanchez are the biggest question marks on the Yankees, not only for this year and if they're going to have any success in the playoffs or even make the playoffs, but my gut decision on all 3 of them is that they still have some value out there. Especially Urshela and Torres. Why don't you just stick with Velasquez and shop and try to get a catcher in the offseason? Move LeMahieu back to second, and it just seems like on top of all their problems with who's going to play first base and who's going to DH, so we can actually get some bats in our lineup. This constant rotation of infield positions, it doesn't help anybody right now. No. It makes the entire defensively, when the Yankees were on their win streak and they had some injuries, defensively they looked like a really good defensive team. Yeah. Now they have 2 on any given day. They have 2 outfielders who on any other team would not be playing the outfield, and guys playing positions they've never played before in the infield. And poor DJ LeMahieu doesn't know where he's going to be at any inning, let alone I mean, he needs to come out with two gloves at all times.
He has to pitch tomorrow night too. He's starting
on
the mound.
Look, it's the injuries and I mean, I'm okay with the Britton injury. I hope I don't wish ill on him, but he was not performing at all, and I don't know what it. Chapman is Aroldis Chapman. What pitch did Aroldis Chapman build his career on?
The home run pitch.
Yeah.
Well, that too in the postseason in October.
Depends on how you want to look at it, right?
Well, the fastball, and he can't throw a fastball anymore. So why are you bringing him in a closer role? It's like he's experimenting. How do I throw a slider? I don't know. I'll just do it with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the ninth and see if I can get through this.
And see what happens. Yeah.
I just don't understand it at all.
Let me ask you this: Is Booney, and I call him Booney. We know each other well enough. Is Booney at a point now where he's like, I'm gone after this, unless we win the series. And even if we do, maybe I'm gone. So I'm throwing everything, spaghetti, sauce, everything, buttered bread at the wall, and maybe something sticks. Although I would argue against that because he doesn't do anything even 2 days in a row, let alone a number of days in a row. So how do you know what actually works?
I'm not sure he's gone. Look, the Yankees are on pace to win between 90 and 91 games right now.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
Well, I understand that.
World Series, you're bust.
Is it?
For them.
It hasn't been with Boone.
Well,
when was the last time Aaron Boone won a World Series? When was the last time Aaron Boone went to the World Series?
I don't know, 2002?
No, it's been.
Aaron Boone went to the World Series was 2000. Oh, 2000. Yeah, 2000.
Well,
where he's on to 01.
No, they won't. As a coach.
As a coach,
as a coach. Well, never, right?
Yeah. So it's it's
so all right. So if that's the case, let's assume that's the case.
Right.
What is the plan from the ownership?
I don't know.
Are we going to dismantle in the offseason?
They much like Gary Sanchez, their pride gets in the way of getting rid of Cashman or Boone.
Right.
Is that what it is? Because they don't seem to have a strategy.
No.
It's not the old Papa George, I'm going to go out and buy the world. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? And I'm going to hire Billy and fire Billy, and sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not. It's not that, obviously, which obviously wouldn't work in today's market. But I don't know what are their goals for next season? Or the 2 seasons after that. Do they even think in those terms? I really just don't understand.
I don't get it. I don't.
What are they trying? What are they trying to do?
I think I think they're delusional enough to think that they can win a World Series.
They have in front of them right now, yeah.
Are they thinking, well, it's the Yankees and we always pull through and
we just need to get there. That's all they need to. That's all they're thinking. We just need to get there. Once we get there, we'll get our shit together, and that's not gonna. Hey, I mean, it could happen, but
it's normally
doubt
true,
it.
Right? I mean,
it's normally true. It's normally
how
true,
many?
Yes.
What have they done in the last couple of World Series they've been in?
Well, last World Series they were in, they won.
They won.
And that was 12 years ago, though.
I mean,
it's been more difficult for them to get there.
Right.
Right.
This is Boone's fourth season, right? So
fourth. Yeah.
In 2018, they went to the division series, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they lost. Yeah.
In 2018, they went to the division series. Yeah.
They lost to the Red Sox.
They lost to the Red Sox, and the Red Sox beat the.
But they went in as a wild card, right?
Yeah, the Red Sox won the division. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2019.
2019.
Wasn't that the Astros?
He also won another 100 games, and they lost to the Astros in the American League Championship Series. That was
the Astros were cheating, but
that was the Altuve home run.
Yeah, that was the Altuve. The Astros were cheating apparently in 2017, not 2019. That whole cheating scandal was from 2017.
Oh, 2019 was when everybody else.
2019 was they lost to the Astros with the Altuve home run off of who threw them that pitch?
My favorite reliever. And then last year they lost to the Rays in the division series.
Right.
So I mean, last year was a little bit of an oddity, but this year is closer to their performance last year, where But I mean, he won 100 games in his first 2 seasons, but they haven't. So the Yankees obviously, I think, still think that they are in.
They're good enough.
They're good enough. I don't think they are compared to who they have even in their own division. The
numbers back.
They're probably the 5th best team in the American League. Maybe.
Well, maybe you know what? Maybe the Steinbrenner boys want to get away from World Series or bust.
Yeah.
No, they don't. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't want to know why.
Otherwise,
it hasn't been not World Series or bust in.
Is it the Yankees or is it the culture of baseball? Do they still have the cachet? Why did Max Scherzer go to the Dodgers?
Right.
I mean, does Brian Cashman not know that Max Scherzer is going to be available and do whatever he can to try to get him?
Of course he does.
I don't think it's the Yankees' lack of wanting. I think that there's a lot of people that don't necessarily want to go there. It'll be interesting at the end of this year whether or not I think Gallo has 1 more year on his contract, but Rizzo is a decision that they have to make, and it'll be interesting to see what the Yankees do, because they usually err on the side of holding on to guys and overpaying them. Right. I hope they don't do that this year. They can't afford to do that very much anymore, and they need pitching, and I don't know why they've had so many injuries this year. I mean, can you blame it on the offseason?
You can blame it on the offseason. Can you blame it on last year only having a 60-game schedule and having all that time off prior to it? I'm sure some of it has something to do with that. It had to take some form of a toll. If it took that much of a toll or not is a different question, but it had to do something, right? It wasn't normal. It was an abnormal 2 years.
Yeah, it's a good question. Is it the lack of play that maybe guys get a little bit out of tune?
Yeah.
Or, is that full season of play every year in regular times what kind of keeps them, right? Because they really don't have a whole lot of time off, right? It's a couple of months, and then it's February.
Months and it's back to, and most of them work out in the offseason too. I mean, they're not playing ball by any means unless some of the players going down to the Caribbean to play.
Right, but they're active and they're staying in shape, and maybe that's
I don't know
to do without the game situation.
Other than whatever position LeMahieu's going to play, and Aaron Judge, who the Yankees are going to do everything they possibly can to re-sign to a massive contract. Right. And look, he's having a bounce back year. My gut tells me that this will come back to backfire on the Yankees. I love Aaron Judge. I think he's a great, great player. I just don't think Aaron Judge is the kind of guy that you give a contract above and beyond what you gave to Giancarlo Stanton, right? Which was a big mistake. I mean, Stanton's the albatross around them, even though he's kind of having a better year than he has. We'll see where if the Yankees make the postseason, what he does there. But they have so many question marks. And
they didn't give Stanton that contract. I mean, they took it on,
right?
But for what whoever Jeter obviously has compromising pictures of somebody to make that.
I think Jeter's just a smart enough guy to realize that
it was a big.
He had one good year, and he's 1 year away from not being able to play the outfield anymore, and he strikes at. I mean, the Yankees have a lot of guys who are big swings, tons of walks, tons of strikeouts.
Yeah. Yep.
And you can't build a team around that. And stats aside, when they had a little bit more diversity in their lineup and a little bit of speed, they were winning games. And
the thing about Judge, though, is to me, he's a guy I just feel like you're going to maybe get 1 more year, and we've already seen some injuries for him. I don't know how much of the season he can stay healthy. Now, if you're happy with Aaron Judge and maybe he's playing well for 120 games a season, but I don't know. That's probably not worth the big money that he's going to command. I don't know. It just seems like he's showing signs of being a guy who's going to kind of maybe break down prematurely.
Well, they've got a lot of those guys. I mean, I don't know where they stand. Look, even on this winning streak, I was like, okay, they're playing really good ball, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, when guys get back in the lineup and get healthy, is this going to hurt them? You know, it's like, okay, they won a couple games with Rizzo, then he was out because of COVID. Luke Voigt came back that next day and started to play really well. They had Velasquez at second. They were at shortstop. They you know, they brought up a couple new pitchers who were pitching well, like Luis Hill or whatever the hell you say his name. It just seems like they were able to play a different brand of baseball than what the Yankees play right now. And I don't think this brand of they don't have the pitching to support an offense that's going to score 9 runs one game and then struggle to get a hit against the 5th best starter on the Orioles the next game. They or Toronto or whoever. I mean, if they can't in September beat Toronto and beat the Mets, at least win the series, then I just don't have much faith in them going into a playoff series with anybody.
Yeah. And especially, and you know what, I'm not gonna belabor this because I did before, but couldn't beat a Mets team that can't get out of its own way,
right?
You know, and that's the problem. It's the Mets won those 2 out of 3 games last weekend to the Yankees over the Yankees, despite some of the moves that.
Well, I was going to say the Mets beat them once, the Yankees gave them a win once, and then won one. Yeah.
And then, the one they won, too, was a little bit of them winning and Rojas making a couple of bonehead pitching moves, as he normally has been, these last, all year, but certainly these last couple months. But, it is what it is. But we will see. I did want to say one thing, though. Last night's game for the Yankees, Mike King pitched 3
really good
3 good innings of relief last night. And it made me think, though, it's like, wow, a relief pitcher can pitch more than 1 inning.
Yes, they can.
I guess. As a Mets fan, I wasn't aware of that.
King and Chad Green are the only ones who can do that for the Yankees, though, for some reason. Right, no, Chad Green he's going to have to be taken out to a pasture and shot at the end of the season. I
think he's pitched more innings than Garrett Cole has at this point.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just my perception of it because I just feel like at any given time, he is the equivalent to looking into the Yankees bullpen as Dave Grohl is to any sort of cultural experience right now. Like, right. If you turn on anything, Dave Grohl is there. If you watch a Yankees broadcast, Chad Green, he just naturally gets up every inning and starts throwing. It's
just in case and keep yourself warm.
This is what worries me. And I understand Cole's coming off the hamstring industry, but it took him 108 pitches to get through 5 innings against the Orioles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're not making me feel better.
No,
they're not. No. And okay, let's say the Yankees do make it to a playoff. Who's their number 2 starter at this point? Jordan Montgomery?
Jordan Montgomery would be their number 2 starter, sure.
Who's their number 3 starter? Corey Kluber?
Chad Green.
I mean, this is my concern.
Number 3 starter's a bullpen day.
Yeah, starter's a bullpen day. That's
I mean, they're just, yeah. It's
or DJ LeMahieu. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't know how that guy keeps straight where he goes every night. I mean, it's just, look, yeah. This is a weird team. It's a weird team.
It's like back in that cartoon, from Bugs Bunny first base, Bugs Bunny second base, Bugs Bunny third base.
And it's just like
I'm looking up how many games has he actually played at second base?
Not as many as a second baseman should be playing at second base.
Well, the beginning of the year he played almost exclusively at first. Then the Yankees went out and got a first baseman at the trade deadline and another first baseman who came back.
At the very beginning of the year, he didn't play first. He played second because Jay Bruce played first.
That was the first week.
First week, yeah.
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 Hey, listen, you got a good week out of Jay Bruce. That's more than a lot of other
one good week out of Jay Bruce. It's more than the Mets got out of him in 3 years.
That's right.
Yeah, he got a whole solid week.
I mean, look, Nick Cortez tonight has already pitched 4 innings. He's got 8 strikeouts already. So, I mean, I don't want to jinx him, but I just, yes, it's the Orioles. Does it make me feel better? They should be up 7-0 on the Orioles by now. I mean, who did Toronto beat Baltimore by the other day? What, 22-7? That's what this is what concerns me, is that they are struggling to beat the Orioles. Now, I understand the Orioles are a professional baseball team, but this is not, the Yankees are not a championship team.
No.
So according to the stats page, 55 games at first, 83 at second, 27 at third base for DJ LeMahieu.
27 games at third base already for DJ LeMahieu. I mean,
so he's got more at between first and third combined than he has at second.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. By the way, yeah, top of the you said top of the fifth, Yankees are winning 2-0 over the Orioles. Top of the fourth, the Cardinals are beating the Mets 6-2.
Yeah, and the minute I complain about anybody, they hit a home run. Like Urshela hit a home run tonight. So it's just Urshela I don't know about, but I could tell you, my gut tells me that Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, package them up, go get somebody. I mean,
but who's taking Sanchez's contract though?
Neither of them have big, huge contracts.
I thought he had, didn't he? Well, no, he retooled his contract. That's right.
Yeah. They're both. I mean, the only contract the Yankees have that's completely unmanageable is Stan's. Yeah.
So, well, anyway. Well, we will see. We have about 2.5 weeks left of the season. We'll see how it shakes out. We'll have another couple of shows prior to well, you know what? As we close in on the second show,
we might hit the playoffs and not have to talk about the Yankees or the Mets.
We might not have to
anymore.
Exactly. This is true. We might not have to talk about the Yankees or the Mets until
That's sad.
Hot Stove. So,
it is sad, but
it
it's
is
a sad reality.
It is true.
All right.
I did want to bring this up really quick. They did on Saturday night at the Mets-Yankees game at Citi Field. They did, do a memorial for 9/11, 20 years.
I saw that.
And it was, obviously the game. They interviewed a lot of people, and mostly ones that were involved in the game. Obviously, Mike Piazza. They interviewed John Smoltz and Chipper Jones too, because obviously they played. It was Atlanta that they played in that game. But it's made me think. I just couldn't believe it was 20 years. 20 years. And I was thinking like, what was I doing? Well, I was working in the city that day until it happened. I actually came home. I got out of the city probably about an hour before it happened, and couldn't get back to work all week.
Yeah.
And, somebody had filled
in for you.
Somebody had to fill in for me at work.
That was me.
That was you.
Walking through the smoky streets.
Oh my God, it must have been
You could smell it even then.
Yeah. No, actually, I did. I think I went back on Friday night, and I was able to get in, and I could still smell it on Friday. 4 days later. But it's one thing I noticed, and I could be wrong about this. It could just be me. I noticed a lot of social media, friends of mine, people posting stuff on Friday. Yeah. Usually on the 11th. Right. Every year, people post the pictures of the towers and the firefighters, and there's a shot of the Brooklyn Bridge and the fire truck going over it, and this and that. Right. All that stuff was coming out on Friday, I noticed. I don't know if I was more sensitive to it, but
you want to know why?
Why? Yeah, because
to
me,
because people do all their social media while they're at work. And they're not working on Saturday, right? Because wasn't the September 11th the Saturday?
It was Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it was unusual to me.
And
but it's not the first time it's been on a weekend. It's 20 years,
of course. And if they're actually trying to use social media to, then everybody tells you can't post on a Saturday. You have to post at 10:30 to 11:30 on a Friday.
Well, but these are are regular people. They're not influencers or anything.
Yeah. I think they realized, I'm not going to take time out of my waffles on Saturday to do this. I'll do this on my boss's dime.
It was strange. It was noticeable. I kind of felt like
they wanted to get ahead of everybody.
Well, maybe not that, but like we couldn't. This is going to sound weird, but it's like they couldn't wait to get to that phase. of the anniversary, the kind of the posting pictures and grieving phase.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna start the day before,
Get an extra
and maybe
day
it was because it was 20 years, or I don't know. It was weird because I
did see a lot on Friday. I did.
Yeah,
I saw a lot on Saturday too, but I did see more than I thought I should have on Friday.
Because everybody does on the anniversary, which was on the day, which was Saturday.
Right.
It's like, okay, it's the 16th of March, and here's my St. Patrick's Day stuff.
Right. Right.
If
you go to a store, you can get your St. Patrick's Day stuff in January.
No, but I mean, I'm posting, Happy St. Patrick's Day,
on the 15th.
Like the day before. That's not a great analogy because one's a celebratory situation, the other's not. But my point is, it was before the anniversary, and I didn't really understand why.
Social media is just trying to catch up to the retail stores about how early they can start posting.
Seasonal creep on social media now.
Yeah, there could be 200 employees at Facebook, and they're in a room, and Zuckerberg's going, let's post some Twin Towers pictures today and get the ball rolling on this.
Zuckerberg doesn't care about any of that. He's just like, make sure that we're
but there's somebody there who does. So
whoever that would be,
I don't think they're dictating. I think they're more.
I don't know. It's a hypothetical, but to me, it was weird. It was just weird.
It was strange.
I mean, that's a day we think about almost daily, right? Even 20 years later, there's usually some sort of reminder of it.
Sure. Yeah.
But I don't want to get into it any sooner than I have to. It's still a hard day.
No, of course.
But I just found it strange that people were like,
You were going to say, Harry?
One thing that I do remember, which I sort of came up when I was watching the Broncos and Giants this past Sunday, is I was actually sitting on a plane when the first tower was hit. My flight was delayed or canceled that morning. I was supposed to go to LA from Denver, and my flight was canceled. So I was not in the air when all the air traffic craziness went on. I was actually sitting on a plane, and we had the Nextel, radios that were part of the Blackberries or whatever back then.
Right.
Somebody that I worked with actually got me on the two-way radio from my office and said, hey, have you, I don't know where you're at, but, the first tower of the World Trade Center was hit. And anyway, I knew this was not going to be good. And this was before, you had instant notifications and everything on your phone. But sure. I was sitting next to a professor from CU Boulder, and I said, and I fortunately just had a carry-on. I was like, hey, grab your stuff and come with me. And I walked off the plane, and I said, I kept walking towards, the exit to get to a bus to get out of there. Because I said, we're not going anywhere, and we should get the hell out of here right now. I explained to him what I knew. And I had taken the bus from a park and ride. So I walked my way all the way over to the bus, got on the bus. And as the bus is heading out of the airport, going outward bound, I just see all of these, cops and military vehicles and everything else heading towards the airport. So, that's my memory of it all. And then obviously trying to locate my family. And, we all had people that were down there. Fortunately, some of them called in sick that day. Some had moved their office from the World Trade Center literally a week or so earlier. My uncle was working in Lower Manhattan and had to, deal with the trek that everybody else did. Didn't get home until, probably 2:00 at night that day. But sports-wise, interesting fact is that the Giants, the last football game before 9/11 was a Monday night game. The Giants and Broncos. Yep. I was at that game.
Yep.
And the Giants looked just as bad that game as they did this game.
They sucked it up pretty bad.
But I believe that was the game that Ed McCaffrey broke his leg. It was September 10th.
I believe you're right. Because I worked at the station all night, overnight, which is what you were referring to before, Pete. But I did manage to bring my portable TV with me and watch the game.
So 20 years later, the Giants Broncos on what was the September 11th eve, they finished that game merely hours before the attack happened.
Yeah.
And here we are again. But I mean, look, we all have. You were saying that you can't believe it's 20 years. I mean, part of me can't believe it's 20 years, and part of me can't believe it's not 50 years. It just
right. It just depends on how you look at it.
Time is sort of one of those weird caveats that you never really quite know how you feel about it. But yeah, I mean, it's insane that it's the 20-year anniversary, and knock on wood, we have not had to endure something similar since, and I hope that continues.
I absolutely hope that. Here to that. I hope that continues, and we never have to endure anything like that ever again. So,
now I have a question for you, Harry.
Yes.
Did you have the little Nextel?
Yeah, it was part. Man. It wasn't the big radios. It was the flip up BlackBerry.
It was like a walkie-talkie
with a button that you could
push
use
to talk.
Do it.
Yeah. And
in the construction industry, that was like how you just constantly got texted, but it was just somebody kind of trying to get your attention at all times.
Yeah, it was just one of the most annoying sounds in the world.
But it came in handy.
I'm just thinking you're on a plane and the news comes over, and I can imagine like 30 people on the plane with the Nextel.
It was just me. You
had the advanced, because that was kind of still sort of advanced technology.
Yeah, and I mean, I had it because that's how we communicated from to the job site and everything else. But I would have been in the air, and I would have been grounded probably in Vegas or somewhere like that, because I had other people that were flying out of the Springs who were going heading to California for the same business trip, and they didn't get back for a few days.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's you couldn't contact anybody. You didn't know where anybody was. It wasn't until much later that evening that I sort of located everybody. But I mean, my sister watched it out her kitchen window. I mean, she saw the whole thing from her apartment in Jersey City. So it's a day that seems surreal. And the one thing that I do remember about it, and I wasn't obviously in New York on that day, but looking at the pictures of the footage of that day and in Denver as well, the weather was just almost perfect.
It was gorgeous.
I remember, and I think the whole country was like that day. Yeah, it was just one of those days where, and
I remember coming out of the tunnel, leaving work. Like I said, I got out of the city maybe even a little less than an hour before, and I remember coming out of the tunnel and going up the helix around the Lincoln Tunnel and looking over and seeing, it was just beautiful blue sky, bright and sunny, and seeing the towers from the helix, looking across to Manhattan and the whole skyline, not just the towers, but and then coming around. And by the time I got home, a half an hour later, as I'm walking in, my father was calling, and I was getting told to put on the TV. But yeah, it was an absolute beautiful day. In fact, I actually know somebody that worked on, I believe in the 70s on the North Tower. Probably the 70s in the North Tower, 70s or 80s, and floor wise. And actually, he was an attorney, and he decided, because it was such a beautiful day, he called in to work and went golfing instead. Yeah.
Well, there's millions of those stories, and there's some that are incredibly sad and some that are incredibly fortuitous, and it's certainly a day to be remembered. I think it's also just one of those days that I think it's hard to put into words. What that day felt like. It's also, we were fortunate enough to have a day in our history, at least in our lifetime, that we remember for that. Whereas I think people who live in other parts of the world live in those scenarios, not apples to apples, but they don't have towers, but they certainly live with tragedy and violence and that days, sort of insanity every day
on an ongoing basis.
Numerous days where they could walk out their front door, and end up dead.
So it's perspective is definitely needed, but it's it's always going to be that thing. We're always going to take it and make it something that's more of a rah-rah, let's go America kind of thing, then that's just what we do, especially when it's built around sporting events and everything else. But there's many stories from many people regarding that. I think it's, for the generation maybe or two before us, it was, where were you when, John Kennedy was shot? I think there's that, along with 9/11, are really, for people that are living right now, those are the things that we remember. I mean, I don't think there's very few people who remember, or are still alive, that remember Pearl Harbor, but those are kind of the moments that we share. And in some strange way, it's interesting that at least there is something good that comes out of that, in that I think it brings perspective to some of the differences we have, and at least we can at least contemplate the realities of that, as without trying to turn it into something that it shouldn't be.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, there was an awful lot of I don't miss September 11th, but I sure miss September 12th.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that going on. And listen, unfortunately,
right. I know what you mean by that too.
Right? No, we understand. We came together.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, this is going to be, I think, and this is the cynic in me, it's going to be it's going to take maybe longer than most, but when you talk about Kennedy being shot in Pearl Harbor, it's going to be relegated to a historical fact.
Right.
Eventually, right? Because Pearl Harbor was the worst thing that happened ever when it happened, and it was memorialized, remembered. Now you have people who barely know what it is.
Well, it also depends on, because you're talking about us, right? We were. I mean, you and I were basically there, and not there, but you know what I'm saying. We were, working in the city. We were, seeing it, and we were all there really when it happened.
But right, and there were people that were there.
We're always going to remember it.
Right, like but I'm saying, when our generations have passed.
Right, that's my point. Right, yeah.
When we get 70 years away from this,
right,
it's going to be just like Pearl Harbor did.
Right.
And, or the day that Kennedy was shot, or the day maybe Martin Luther King was shot.
Right. My youngest son is going to be 21 years old next month. He was 11 months old when just a day short of 11 months old when it happened. Right. He doesn't remember any of it.
Yeah. And look, I'm not chastising anyone or anything like that. It's just kind of what happens. He
knows about it. Obviously, he even learned about it in school, but he doesn't know it like we know. Is my point.
Right. Yeah. So, but this one might stick around a little bit longer.
I think. Well, and not to get political, because that's not what this podcast is about. But if you really sit back and look at the actual cost and the amount of lives that have been lost since 9/11 based on our actions as a reaction to 9/11, whether it's Afghanistan or otherwise, it pales in comparison from a cost of lives and just a general cost on our
aftermath is much more costly.
Sure. And we're still obviously seeing that. I mean, it's almost. I mean, here we are 20 years down, and a week before the 20th anniversary, we're seeing people jumping on a plane and to try to flee a country that we supposedly saved from themselves 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, we fixed it.
Fixed it. Right. Yeah, mission accomplished.
Anyway, on that note, let's go back to some sports.
No, I don't feel like it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, football. Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. We'll start with let's first of all let's change the background. So we got to do that, right? All right.
Look at that 20.
Look at that, right on the 20's point at Harry. 20.
So that's how much money I have in my bank account.
20. Does that mean that 20, Harry, you're 20, or does that mean that 20 is greater than you because it's got that?
No, I have 20.
Like Harry is less than 20.
I have $20 in my bank account.
Less than 20.
Yeah, probably now. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. On that note, let's do let's kick off football with the quiz. Let's kick off football with the quiz.
Alrighty.
We're gonna do coaches. Ooh. All right, coaches.
Which 3 coaches?
Special teams. Which special teams coach?
Just all special teams coaches from the early 1970s. That's what this is about. Right.
I base it solely on their mustache and sideburn ratio.
Of course. Well, the sideburns, you got the mutton chops, you know.
Right.
So that's what you need.
I pick Horatio Uhlenbrock.
Done. All right. Let's move on. All right. Now we got coaches. Here we go. We'll start with Pete as we normally do. I'm going to give you 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to give you 5. 2 got to go. You keep 3. 2 got to go. All right?
Okay.
Who are you keeping? Here we
go. I love the explanation. It always sounds like it's more complicated than it is, you know?
Right.
I give you 5. 2 got to go. 3 stay.
3 stay. 2 go. 3 stay, 2 go. Here we go. Weeb Eubank.
Okay.
Walt Michaels. Joe Walton. Bill Parcells. Rex Ryan.
I know one that has to go immediately.
And just think about what they did, though. I mean, it's your choice, right? But there you go. So Weeb Eubank, Walt Michaels, Joe Walton, Bill Parcells, Rex Ryan.
All right. Well, I'll hang on to Weeb.
Okay.
And obviously, I'll hang on to Bill.
Of course.
And I'll hang on to Rex.
Okay.
Because those were, look, I see what you're shaking your head, and I agree with you. However,
how did he function as an NFL coach? I listened to him as a commentator, and I just
he's terrible. I was watching whatever show it was, Get Up or something.
Yeah, he's horrible.
And the whole crew, a bunch of self-important blowhards who talk even longer than I do to make a simple point. Anyway, here's what I'll say about Rex.
Okay,
we didn't win the Super Bowl.
Got close.
We got close. Those were 2 good years, whether it was his team, whether he ruined it, whatever.
Right.
Butt fumble guy, whatever.
That was the Sanchez. Was Sanchez the quarterback both years?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Those were 2 good years, certainly better than a hell of a lot of other years to be a Jet fan.
Sure.
And whether it was because of Rex or despite Rex, and I think it was a little of each, I'll take Rex.
Rex Ryan is the only Jets head coach that has more than 2 postseason wins. Only, including Weeb. He's the only Jets head coach that has more
was he a head coach with somebody else other than the Jets?
The Bills.
The Bills, that's right.
Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, after.
But
because he had an under 500 record with the Bills. So I guess he had an over 500, barely over 500 record with the. Well, I guess he had over 500.
With the Jets, he was 46-50. He was 4 games under 500.
So he's been under 500 with all of, but he had 2 good years and 2 bad years.
09 and 2000. The first 2 years were
what, he's coached 5 years or 4 years?
6.
6
years.
Wow.
09 through 2014.
We had something to celebrate those 2 years. So.
There you go. All right. Harry, you want to weigh in really quick?
Yeah, who would you keep?
Who would you keep?
Oh,
right on that. Oh, look at that. He was going so good the whole entire night.
All right, let's see.
He's back. He's back.
Well, who was the coach of the I mean, you got to keep Parcells. Other than that, I don't know.
Sam.
Well, who statistically was better, Michaels or Walton?
Between Walt Michaels was 39 and 47, and Joe Walton was 53 and 57. So incrementally, Joe Walton was better than Walt Michaels. So
I'd get rid of both of them. I'll give you Rex. I'll but look, if it was today, I'm not bringing Rex. I'm not even hiring Rex Ryan to cater a wedding for me, let alone coach a football team.
All right. Quick aside, almost a second quiz. I'm going to throw it in there just really quick. We won't belabor this, but I'm going to give you 4 names really quick. 2, you keep 2, and 2 got to go. Just you only keep 2 of these. Herm Edwards, Eric Mangini, Pete Carroll, or Lou Holtz.
Pete Carroll and Pete. You keep who I keep.
Who do you keep? Well,
say him again.
Herm Edwards, Eric Mangini, Pete Carroll, and Lou Holtz.
Pete Carroll and Herm Edwards.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
By the way, Weeb Eubank, his name is so great it sounds like a character from Star Wars.
Weeb Eubank. He's the only coach to win a championship with two different teams. Not a Super Bowl, a championship with two different teams. Weave Eubank coached the.
And didn't he go on to host the Match Game PM or something like that? Or is that another Eubank?
That was his brother.
Who was that guy?
I forget. Something Eubank. Yeah, was it?
Bob Eubank. Eubanks, actually, I believe.
Bob Eubanks. Bob Eubanks.
Yeah, Bob Eubanks. It was a match game, I think.
Something like that. Bob Eubanks. So there you go. All right, Harry, your quiz. Here we go.
All right.
I'll give you 5, keep 3, get rid of 2. Here we go. Steve Owen, Jim Lee Howell, Bill Parcells, Jim Fossil, Tom Coughlin.
I got to keep 2?
You got to keep 3. You got to get rid of 2. Steve Owen, Jim Lee Howell, Bill Parcells, Jim Fossil.
When did Steve Owen?
Steve Owen was 1930 to 1953 or 54 or something like that.
And who was the second one?
Jim Lee Howell was after that. Steve Owen won
9 championships during his tenure.
Steve Owen won 2 championships. Jim Lee Howell won 1956 championship.
Steve Owen, Parcells, and Coughlin.
Gotcha. You're keeping Steve Owen, Parcells, and Coughlin. You're getting rid of Jim Lee Howell.
Sure.
And
I'm getting rid of Mr. Howell.
Mr. Howell. You're getting rid of the gyms. Anyway, you want to weigh in there?
I guess I don't know. What did Jim Fossil ever do besides
took him to the Super Bowl? Coach of the year in '97.
I think Fossil for me falls into the Rex Ryan category of had a good team, was an okay coach, sort of the right guy at the right time. I think Fossil was a little bit ahead of his time when it came to some offensive strategy, but it didn't end well.
Yeah, right. Well, when he left, they had to change the culture, right? That's why they brought in.
Well, they brought in Coughlin.
Yeah, I'd probably keep that list.
I mean, Coughlin and Parcells, as far as modern day, since the talkies,
right?
Those, I mean, that's a no-brainer. But
and Steve Owen was coach from 1931 to 1953. He had a 150. He's the winningest coach in Giants history. He's 153 and 100 record. But obviously he coached for 24 years. So
the other reason I say that is because I still feel Jim Fossil isn't a head coach. I feel like he is a coordinator.
Right.
And I could be wrong with that. Maybe I'm being a little hard on him, but I don't. Those other 3 have certainly.
Sure, I got you. Jim Lee Howell was short, though. Jim Lee Howell, won the championship in 1956, but he was only head coach for 5-6 seasons.
Yeah,
54 to 60. That's it. So,
Jim Fossil's not even coaching in the NFL anymore.
Jim Fossil passed away earlier this year.
That's right, but before that, he was coaching the Las Vegas Locomotives.
He was.
Yeah.
He was.
I did not realize that he passed away this year. I'm sorry, Jim Fossil.
I didn't know that either.
But I still would not put you on my list.
Sorry.
But out of the 5, the only you will get a special in memoriam.
Yeah, he passed away. June 7th this year in Las Vegas.
And he was the coach. He was the coach of the Giants on 9/11.
He was the coach of the Giants.
They were actually, I think, in flight. I think the Giants were actually in flight that morning from Denver.
They probably were. You're probably right.
That was Jim Fossil.
So, and then a quick aside for you. I'll give you another 4 other names. Earl Pottinger, who actually won the Giants' first NFL championship.
You sure it's not Pottinger?
Huh?
You sure it's not pronounced Pottinger?
Pottinger, maybe it's Pottinger. Sure, Pottinger.
Francois Pottinger,
not protege.
Pottinger.
Was that like what was the baseball one we were talking about? What the hell was his name?
Yeah, Leaky Siv.
I forget.
No, I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was.
All right. Earl, Allie Sherman, Ray Perkins, Dan Reeves. You got to get rid of 2.
You got to get rid of 2?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the first one? Protege?
Earl Protege. Allie Sherman, Ray Perkins, and Dan Reeves. And we'll go with you first, Pete, since he locked up for a second again. Yeah, there he's back. He's back.
Sherman and Reeves.
Sherman and Reeves, I agree.
Sherman and Reeves, you agree. Sherman and Reeves.
Yeah, no Frenchies.
No Frenchies.
Sorry, Pottier.
Yeah, there you go. You're keeping Sherman and Reeves, or you're getting rid of Sherman and Reeves?
No, keeping them.
I'll wait for...
Well, I'm keeping them. Harry might want to...
I'm keeping them.
You're keeping.
Right.
So
I might be leaving this podcast in a second because of my connection, but yes.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So you're getting rid of Perkins and Protege.
I'm getting rid of Perkins and IHOP.
All right. We're done. There you go.
Keeping Belkins.
All right. 14 games this past Sunday. 12 teams in those 14 games, so 28 teams. 12 teams started with a new quarterback for the first time this weekend. 12. I could only dream. 12 new quarterbacks started this past Sunday out of 14 games. So in all, yeah. And a couple of them, I don't think they were all 12 of 14 games. I think there were a couple of games that actually had 2 rookie quarterbacks starting. But in any event, another
starting or played. Are you counting Justin Fields in that? He didn't start, but he
starting.
Played.
Well, okay. the report I got was starting, so that didn't include Justin Fields, and obviously didn't include Trey Lance either, because Garoppolo started that game. But
guess it wasn't entirely Dalton time, was it?
I'm assuming not.
Well, some trick plays.
A little bit, a little here.
Situational.
Right, exactly. But the Browns lost, obviously, and they were winning. I mean, they were handling the Chiefs, and until they weren't. You
saw that coming. You
saw it coming. No, it's the Chiefs' MO, right? That's what they do, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, but
it's usually what they do in the playoffs, though, not in the.
The Browns also made a number of boneheaded plays.
Sure, absolutely.
If they had maintained some semblance of their quality of the play from the first half of that game in the second half, then they probably would have won.
Yeah, and I mean, you could even pin it down to. I mean, obviously, it was a lot of different things, but you could even pin it down to that one muffed punt. But in any event,
it was a cavalcade of mistakes.
On that note, since the Browns rejoined the league, and as an expansion team, but took back their history from the Ravens in '99, on opening day since 1999, the Browns have gone 1-21-1. Mm-hmm. They've won one game on opening day and tied once. Every other opening day, 21 years, they lost on opening day.
So they should always hope to be scheduled against a powerhouse team.
Right, yeah. Right.
And then they'll be like, it was opening day. We always lose on opening day.
Yeah, we lose on opening day. So you just throw that in there now. So we got to play them at some point. Let's do it on opening day.
Right.
Exactly. I
think that's a pretty sound strategy. You don't want to lose to, Jacksonville on opening day.
Why would you want to do that?
You want to do that? Lose to the Chiefs.
Exactly. Let's start with the. Let's talk about the Giants.
What's the biggest? Well, we're going to do the Giants and Jets, and then we'll talk about the biggest story in the rest of the league, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about
figure
that.
out what that is.
I
know what that is.
I think we all know that.
Yeah, I think we all know what
that is. But really, the Giants.
Pittsburgh beating Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. The Giants just.
All right, did the Giants? Let me ask you guys this, because you're Giant fans.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Giants? Were they what you expected? Were they in character?
Yeah, they're the same team from last year.
You know what? I'll answer it like this.
John's always more of an optimist.
They're exactly what I was expecting, but I was hoping for better.
Well, let me put it this way. John is the optimist until the minute the game starts and he gets Facebook in front of him.
Well, yeah.
And he just starts the Giants could score a touchdown and there's something wrong with it. So when the game starts, I'm actually a little bit more level-headed. I'm like, okay, look at that. Look, the Giants have some good players. The problem with the Giants is they don't have a good team.
Yeah.
And what's their biggest problem? Well, it's the same problem it's been for the last 5 years. Their offensive line is horrible, and Daniel Jones can't hold on to the ball.
I think I said it best in that one post that I put up on Facebook. A 30-year-old condom with holes in it offers more protection than the Giants' offensive line. So
was that the one that had the poop emoji?
They all.
Or was that every other one?
You need to change your emoji game.
You need
I was holding this all day.
You need a see-through condom emoji.
The see-through condom. There you go.
So
to represent the Giants' offensive line.
See-through doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't work. I hope not.
Let's say a holy but not blessed condom. That's right. What you need. Yes. A holy condom.
A holy condom.
You need to change out
your ripped and torn
condoms frequently. Here's when I saw Von Miller. Look, the Bradley Chubb didn't even play in this game. No. So you have one guy you got to block, and I saw Von Miller lining up over Nate Solder, and I was just like, oh, this is going to be horrible. And it was worse than I even imagined it was going to be. Am I wrong? Is that Solder was out of there in the second half, and then whoever replaced him was even worse?
There was actually, and I got to find it, and if I find it, I'll bring it up next week. I saw this. There was actually a picture of Nate Solder blocking his own other offensive lineman.
Well, sure, because he's closer. He didn't have to move as far.
And he's here. To block.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely does. Absolutely. 100% right on that one.
I don't know. That's maybe a little bit over the top.
There you go. You're back. Look. It's the offensive line. This, for nothing else, the Giants' offensive line is absolutely the reason why Dave Gettleman has to go this year, because he has had 4 years to fix this offensive line with his hog mollies and whatever else he wants to call them, and build a wall, because that's where football is won in the trenches, right? Okay, fix the trench that needs the work and needs to be fixed, and they haven't done it in 4 years. He has not done it. It's been the same thing year after year after year, and nothing gets fixed. So,
all right, I'll say this just to play devil's advocate here. Okay,
Go ahead.
I think the Giants are in a situation where, offensively,
right, their offense was pretty offensive on.
They have a lot of talent, but they have a lot of talent, right?
Sure.
It feels what we talked about, the great moves they made offensively,
right?
So really, you're waiting and hoping for one thing to happen, and that's the offensive line to be better.
Right.
So is that a more realistic or potentially better situation than having built a really good offensive line and not having a lot of pieces for Daniel Jones to work with? He's protected, but he's got no one to throw to.
Well, I'll tell you what.
In other words, is it better to have an offensive line that needs to come together, or a bunch of offensive players that need to come together?
I'll answer that for you in 3 words. New England Patriots. Yeah, a good offensive line with mediocre or even bad talent can win you Super Bowls.
Okay, and I'll go even further.
The Giants don't have Tom Brady, though.
Well, that's true too, but I'll go even further than that. I'll go even further than that by saying this: go back to 1986, with the exception of Mark Bavaro. Take just him aside. The entire rest of that receiving core, running backs, and Joe Morris was great. Don't get me wrong, and O.J. Anderson was on that team as well. But so they had good, solid running backs. But the receivers and everybody else they had there, the core that they have now is better than them. Mark Bavaro aside, the core that they have now of those weapons, if you will, are better than they had then. And they won a Super Bowl. Why? Because that offensive line was a brick friggin' wall. That's why.
All right. I
Phil
agree
Simms,
with you.
with the cement in his shoes, was able to get the ball out to people.
That was almost 40 years ago.
Yeah,
that's like
unfortunately.
That's like saying, let's go back to 1946.
No,
it's a little bit of a different game now.
Of course it is. But they still had that brick wall. That was the key.
I think it's even harder now because defensive players are bigger and faster. If anything, it's
fair enough,
right?
I don't think there's been anybody bigger and faster than LT right now that.
Well, okay, but I mean,
I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Everything is faster.
I would argue defensive players are smaller and faster. Yeah,
there are bigger ones, but they're smaller and faster ones too.
Yeah,
but the bigger ones too. They're not lumbering, giants who can
right.
stop the run.
You can't win without blocking. You can't.
I agree. But again, my question is, do the Giants have let me rephrase it. Do they have a better chance of the offensive line coming together over the course of this season than they would have trying to have a bunch of receivers and maybe a tight end and mediocre players for Daniel Jones to pick his targets amongst.
I would rather them have mediocre players where they're able to open up holes and protect the quarterback, because that gives you opportunities. If you can extend the play with pass protection, then a professional NFL player can get open. And they already had Saquon Barkley. The question is Saquon Barkley done? Well, he is until he has some sort of hole to run through.
Saquon Barkley had 26 yards on Sunday.
No running back can.
Daniel Jones had 27 yards rushing on Sunday.
Yeah, I guess my point is it's
and a fumble.
It's a gamble either way.
Let me ask
I'm not gonna disagree with you guys that Gettleman's done a lousy job in this aspect, but I'm not a GM.
It's not an either or though, because
but I think that's the gamble he's making. Right. I think that's the gamble he's decided to make.
Well,
we're going to hope that the line gels, and we're going to put a bunch of good pieces, offensive pieces on the field.
It's just it has nothing. It's not an either or. It's that he does not know how to find a good offensive lineman in the pack, in the bunch. Look, they spent money and they went out and got Nate Solder. Nate Solder was a Pro Bowler. Right?
He wasn't until he got to the Giants.
With the Patriots.
No, with the Patriots.
But how many offensive linemen have they drafted?
Well, but let me finish that thought. So they went out and they got Nate Solder. They spent money on him. All right, the Giants are investing in their offensive line. They haven't drafted that many offensive linemen. That's the problem.
Andrew Thomas last year, Will Hernandez a couple years before that.
I think Hernandez is okay. I think Thomas has a lot of question marks, and now, is he hurt again? I don't know.
And I still say, Tristan Wirfs was there for the taking when they picked Andrew Thomas.
I don't
know why
the Giants have been horrible at analyzing talent on the offensive line, and they're really bad at coaching and putting together an offensive line that can react and be successful against today's NFL defenses. Mm-hmm. And nothing I saw on Sunday pointed that in a better direction than they were last year.
And isn't at least half of their line out of position, so to speak?
Their whole line's out of position. Pretty much, they've moved everybody.
It's almost like Aaron Boone's their offensive line coach.
Pretty much.
So I think that's the gamble that they're making. I'm not saying it's a good gamble, but I think that in other words, I don't think it's random. I agree with you. They don't seem to be very good at picking the right people, but I don't think it's cluelessness.
No.
I think that's the gamble they're making. We're hoping this line comes together, and we're going to put good pieces on the field so that when it does, we're going to have a powerhouse offense.
Well, it's also, when it comes to an offensive line, it's also about the talent around you too. And they could pick a couple of good pieces, but if those pieces don't gel at the positions that they're lined up next to with those players, and they're not playing as one cohesive unit, it's going to be a little more difficult. I'm not saying that's impossible to do, but they more than any other crew on the team has to actually work together.
Who's the Giants' offensive line coach this year?
Whatchamacallit? They just got
Bill Judge.
Bill Judge. Joe's uncle.
Nephew.
There you go.
Yeah. They got a guy from college.
So bad. It's a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah, Rob Saleh or Sale, however you want to say it, and he's a Joe Judge guy.
Yeah, but there's also the whatchamacallit is the Pat Flaherty is back, and he's a consultant. He's the offensive line consultant. So he's basically the coach's coach. Basically, he's coaching the coach.
Be better.
Yeah.
That's his consultant.
I don't know what the actual job description is for an offensive line consultant, but knowing his pedigree, and Pat Flaherty actually did work with David Deal and Chris Snee and Sean O'Hara and all of those guys, and he had that. They were a great unit, so he knows what he's doing. So hopefully a little bit of that rubs off on this guy and the players, and hopefully that works a little bit.
Yeah, but, I think that's what they're banking on. That's their plan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, Saquon Barkley. Like I said, Saquon Barkley had 26 yards rushing. Daniel Jones had 27 yards rushing. Saquon Barkley's 26 was an average of 2.6 yards a carry. Daniel Jones was an average of 4.5 yards a carry, plus he had a touchdown. Now, granted, obviously he ran when the line broke down and he was able to move out. That's not what a running back does. So it's not apples to apples, but still. They didn't utilize him enough. They came along. And here's my point, though. I watched Saquon Barkley, who was cleared, play. I don't know if he was playing scared, whether they were playing him because they were the way they were playing him because they were scared. They were using him. They were holding back. Maybe he's not 100%, but they wanted to clear him. I don't know what the story was. But I watched Christian McCaffrey run like nuts all day. Yeah. Didn't they have the same damn injury at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Look, and the Giants'
Christian
defense
McCaffrey's like a year older than...
Didn't do any better than the Giants' offense.
The defense actually shocked. The defense was actually the most shocking part of the game for me.
All I heard all offseason was how the Giants are finally going to have the defensive secondary where they can play man to man, and they're still in this zone defense that just gets them caught with their pants down every damn game, and it's just ridiculous.
There was Teddy Bridgewater had 264 yards passing, and ironically. Daniel Jones had 267 yards passing, but it's all about the rushing. It's all about the rushing, too.
Daniel Jones was Daniel Jones. He was probably as consistent as he's ever going to be.
Right.
That's what you're going to get out of Daniel Jones.
Right. Melvin Gordon had over 100 yards rushing.
Right.
And the difference was the rushing. The Broncos had 163 yards rushing. The Giants had 60 yards rushing.
Yeah, well, McCaffrey was a weapon, and Saquon Barkley was not.
Right.
He wasn't a weapon. Who was the weapon on the Giants?
Who was the weapon on the Giants? Well, I mean, let me go back to the Giants here. Whatchamacallit? Kenny Golladay had a couple of great catches, but Sterling Shepard was the weapon all day. He had 113 yards receiving, and he had the one touchdown. Averages 16.1 yards a reception. Darius Slayton had 65 yards, and Kenny Golladay had 64 yards. But did you see some of those catches that Kenny Golladay made, though?
No.
I mean, yeah, he was like 10 yards away from the ball and threw his go-go gadget arms out and grabbed it and pulled it in. And that didn't happen just once. It happened like 2 or 3 times. So that he looked like Kenny Golladay. So that's a good thing. So it's promising. It's promising. But yeah, the defense. I think the defense was more of an issue than the offense. The offense, a bunch of drives stalled. Of course, Daniel Jones, had his turnover again. Can't go a week without at least one. He didn't have any interceptions, but he had the fumble on the one run.
Right.
But I don't know. So, well, I mean, this week, let's see. This week they got tomorrow night's game. They're on the Thursday night game. They're away. They're playing the Washington. Football teamers.
The football team.
The football teams. The Washington is a 3.5-point favorite. And they're home, obviously. It's tomorrow night, 8:20. And
this is Washington's lone conference game until the end of the season.
This is Washington's lone conference game until the last 5 weeks of the season. We pointed that out last week. But here's the thing. Now, Washington does not have Fitzmagic. He's out.
Yeah.
He's out 6 to 8 weeks, I think they're saying. So they got what's his name, Heineke, going.
Yeah, but who did fairly well for them last year?
Who did decent towards down the stretch, yeah. But they have the over/under at 40.5 points.
Well, the Giants scoring at the end almost. The fact that they couldn't kick the extra point helped me solidify my under in that game.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but
you'd have been screwed if they kicked the extra point.
I think it would have tied it. I'm not sure. Or look.
I agree 100%.
Oh, I don't think that's the case at all.
You don't?
No.
Low scoring game.
Yeah.
What was the over? What
was the over under on that one last week?
40.5.
Oh, for this week it's 40.5. For this week's 40.5. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I'd take the under on that.
I would take the under on that. Yeah. But who knows? You
don't think? I don't think both teams will score 20 points.
What? Maybe it's going to be close. But I'll tell you one thing though. The Giants normally, I mean, they beat Washington both times last year, right? And they don't have a starting quarterback per se. I mean, yeah, Heineke did play well down the stretch last year, but who knows? So We'll see. Maybe the Giants are able to, get off the schneid in week 2 this year instead of week 6 and actually win a game.
Washington had a pretty damn good defense last year, and
so they did.
In my book,
they still do.
Right, they have a pretty damn good defense this year, unless until they're proven otherwise. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the Giants are going to score very much, and who knows about
I think this is going to come down to a turnover or two, maybe a pick six.
Which it normally does.
And a kicking.
This could be like a 17-16 or maybe a 14-13, something along those lines. But
gotcha.
I wouldn't put 20-plus
I would
points on.
It was 20. Their 2 games last year were 20-19 and 23-20.
Gotcha.
So gotcha. I think they got the over under just right. I think they got it. Just right where it should be.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be looking at another 2019, 2017 game. So, yeah.
I think it'd be a little lower. Now, here's the potential good news for Washington. If Fitzmagic comes back, let's say in 6 or 7 or 8 weeks or whatever,
then it's the start of his season.
Well, listen,
the start of his season, right?
If they can hang on, right, can kind of hang around and be 500, you might get those extra, right, the 5 or 6 games that he plays well. It might be
I have
later
a question mark.
In the season.
I thought the Fitzmagic just happened to end in the middle of October, but you think it has to do with how many games he plays.
It seems to be 5 or 6 games.
Okay.
So you
I
might
thought
get
last
those
year was more like
games.
8 or 9 games with
that's true.
Miami last year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right. So let's say it's 7 or 8. You could get those 7 or 8 games right after maybe 7 or 8 weeks.
Right.
Well, he had a higher QBR last year than Tua.
Yeah. So listen, if that's the case, Washington might end up winning this division.
Right.
This is true.
Dallas is going to win the division.
Well, let's put that up really quick because I did make the graphic here. So let's take a look. These were our picks.
Oh my gosh!
After week 1, we'll talk about the Jets in a second. But after week 1, how do we feel about these picks? NFC East. Pete, you said Dallas. Harry, you said Dallas. You still confident, both of you, with that?
Yeah.
I think between the 3 of us, we have accurately picked the winner. It will be one of those 2 teams.
One of those 2 teams, yeah. NFC North. How do all of us feel about the NFC North picks?
It's still going to be the Packers.
All right. We feel the same way about the South?
Yeah.
And NFC West, kind of still in there. I mean,
I think the Rams look good. 49ers look good too.
Yeah. AFC East.
The Bills lost. I think the fact that New England couldn't kind of win a game they should have won against Miami, I think it might be closer, but I still think I can't see the Bills falling off completely.
Right. I got you.
Yeah, probably look. There's always at least a couple of games every week that are anomalies, right? There's a couple of games that are sort of portents of things to come. I think the Packers and the Bills are more on the anomaly side than anything else. Right. I mean, neither of those teams is as bad as they showed.
Yeah, no, they're not. So the North, we have Pete, you and I have the Browns. How are you? Have the Ravens? You still all of us confident there, or?
I don't really care.
None of them won. Neither of them won. So
no.
That was a heck of a game, though.
It was a really good game.
The Ravens and the Raiders.
Yeah. The South. Well, all 3 of us have the Titans.
Yeah. That one might be portents of things to come.
Yeah, we'll have to get back on that one.
They did not look good at all.
They did not look good. They got handily spanked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who would have thought that the Colts didn't look great, but they didn't look horrible. They started off the game okay. I didn't think the Titans – so I still think Tennessee is going to be better than – I still think Tennessee wins this division. Do you really think the Houston Texans are going to win?
No.
Nobody else is going to win it.
That's the
Jacksonville and the Colts aren't going to win it.
No,
the
Titans probably win it by default because of those reasons.
Right.
But
they can be significantly worse than they were last year and still win this division because there's really – if anyone is going to step up, it would be the Colts, and I don't think they're.
Yeah, God forbid this happens, but the only thing that could really hurt the Titans is a season-long injury to Derrick Henry. So, but they did look horrible.
Yeah,
but the Cardinals are one of those teams too that they remember last year, beginning of the year. Kyler Murray, MVP. The Cardinals are going to the Super Bowl. We heard this at the beginning of last year.
Right.
Yeah, Cardinals are a Jekyll and Hyde. They either look great or...
Well, they looked good in the beginning of the year. They started out well last year. Yeah. They looked good in the beginning of the season.
Same thing. They look great. They were in the lead in the NFC West for a number of weeks in the beginning of the season last year.
Well, and here's the reality of it. When you put Tennessee in a position where they have to throw the ball, they're very beatable. Yeah. But if Tennessee, so it's Tennessee's defense that's really going to dictate how successful they are. Because if they can hold on to a lead and run the ball, I mean, Henry only ran the ball 17 times. I mean, that's
that's not a recipe for winning.
That's not a recipe for winning. No, not at all.
This whole division though is horrible. Not as bad as the NFC East, but it's not a great division.
58 yards for Derrick Henry in a game is not a Derrick Henry rushing game. It's something's up there, and not a good game. But AFC West, we're all confident the Chiefs will emerge victorious.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah, we're good with our picks for the NFC winners.
I mean, look, obviously I would take the Bucs if I had to today. I still think that.
Well, we're going to talk about the Packers in a minute.
Yeah,
I think we were all going in the same direction.
Let me know. I'll let you know in 2 weeks whether or not I feel like
we'll revisit this in a couple of weeks.
I mean, both my picks could be down the shitter in 3 weeks. So.
And how do both of you feel about your picks versus my pick for the AFC winner? At the moment.
Well, I think the easier pick was the Chiefs.
Obviously. I didn't I didn't like say, "Oh my God, how the hell did he come up with that one?" Yeah. And imagine that. And he didn't do that on his own. We'll never know. We'll never know what he was going to say until he comes back. He's going to have a fight with his computer tonight, I swear. And he's right back. Look at that. There you go.
I mean, I think the money pick for is a repeat of last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. I'm still saying, again, a couple weeks even with the Packers too. We'll revisit that.
Yeah, and look, I just think it's hard to do over and over and over again.
It is.
And
if
difficult. I remember correct, I mean, look, everyone has their share of injuries, but I don't know. Did the Chiefs have less injuries? Maybe it just seems that way because we were talking about them all the time. But it's such a stacked team.
Yeah.
They can lose a couple of guys.
They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of depth.
I will say this: the teams, and Brady obviously didn't show this, and neither did a couple other, but the teams that seem to have veterans who don't want to practice or play in the preseason did not look great.
No.
I mean, even the Chiefs got off to a pretty sluggish start.
Sure.
So I think the lack of a real preseason is it's showing. It seems like the positions that require more practice and sort of playing together as a unit, the offensive line in a passing game,
right? It
just seemed to be, for a lot of teams, it just seemed to be a bit of a mess. I will say this: I think the Steelers answered a lot of questions. I think the Steelers are going to have a good year. They seem to be healthy. They seem to be on the right track. I think they were a team that underperformed last year, even though they started out the year as gangbusters. Right. So that them beating the Bills wasn't that much of a surprise. And as far as the Saints beating the Packers, the Saints have had moments last year without Drew Brees where everybody was like, well, you can start this guy, or you can start Jameis Winston did well. And then they had what's his name who came in for. So the Saints always have, when you have Alvin Kamara and a well-coached team with an offensive line that was blowing holes through the Packers defense,
right? Then
the Saints. I didn't think the Saints were going to stink this year. I also am one of those people who does not put Drew Brees. I mean, he's one of the he's a Hall of Famer, great quarterback, but I don't think he had some of the intangibles to win big games. Yes, he won a Super Bowl. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I think this Saints team has a lot of talent on it and a good coach and kind of a system that seems to be built around consistent talent to fit that.
You heard it here first. Drew Brees, system quarterback.
Systems quarterback.
No, Jameis Winston though is.
Well, here's the thing. Look,
Brees
had a certain element of what the greats have, which is that you're down, you need something, he puts the team on his back. He had that ability.
He did.
Maybe not quite as much as some of the other upper echelon guys. I think we were in agreement on that. But I don't know. You don't really have that. At least we haven't seen it. Jameis Winston.
I'm not taking that away from Drew Brees. And I put him in the same category as like a Brett Favre, where they could do amazing things, but they could also make some,
But you don't have that with Jameis Winston.
Well,
and look, what you said, offensive line, stay in control, right?
They were ahead the whole game. They didn't have to come from behind.
Winston's your man, right? He can get the job done.
And I think
down by 2 touchdowns with,
different team,
different team left.
Yeah, they're not the Chiefs,
right?
Yeah, they're not the Chiefs.
So what do you make of the Packers in that game? Like, why did they just score 3 points? Why did Aaron Rodgers only throw 133 yards with no touchdowns and 2 picks?
I think they were unprepared. I think they're rusty as shit. I think Aaron Rodgers is a little out of it mentally. I'll be honest with you. He almost looked like he was stoned. And I've had 2 people comment to me who aren't even sports fans, that maybe 3 people, who said, "Man, Aaron Rodgers looks old. He looks like he aged." And I'm not talking about his play. I'm just talking about what he looks like physically. Right. There is something different about Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't seem – it seems like this offseason has been – maybe it's been more tougher mentally than we think. He shakes it off. He's like, hey, we got 16 more games to go.
Right.
He's got a lot of talent. They should be able to step right back in and play. But as for some teams – getting out of the gate was not easy, and once you get down, once you start to steamroll, I don't think you're gonna in week 1 you're gonna mount some sort of 30-point comeback unless you're the Chiefs.
Well, let me put this. Let me give you this little tidbit. Here you go. Ready? Aaron Rodgers has only had 3 other games in his career with a passer rating under 37.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He ended up winning the MVP in 2 of those seasons and the Super Bowl in the other.
Yeah.
So clearly he can bounce back from a game like this.
One game. But listen, you also have to – what is his motivation? Do we really know? We're talking about, well, he obviously has something to prove, right? He wants to stick it to the Packers by being great and proving that –
Who knows?
He doesn't want
to understand the guy. He's an odd duck.
But if he doesn't want to win another Super Bowl, what is he doing playing right now?
No, he does want to win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he's not going to win a Super Bowl playing like he did on Sunday.
Well, I don't think he's tanking it. I'm just saying maybe it's harder to get motivated. His life is significantly different now, right? He's married now, right?
Is he married?
I think didn't he get married to Shailene Woodley?
I don't think they're married, but they're engaged.
They got engaged. They got engaged.
They were married, and she was knocked up already. Anyway,
they have 9 kids in the offseason. Yeah, it's been.
Doesn't mean he's married.
That's why he looks so tired.
We keep assuming that he wants to stick it to them and prove he's still the man, but I don't know. Maybe he wants to go somewhere else and prove he's the man.
I want this to be the year of Milwaukee. I want a Milwaukee sweep, or I know Green Bay is not Milwaukee, but. The year of Wisconsin.
Year of Wisconsin.
I want the Brewers to surprise everybody. Not the Brewers are a great team, but it could be the year.
It could.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, there was a little Tampa action last year. There was a little LA action last year. This year, it could be all about Wisconsin.
I will say this. Here's my week 1 takeaway. If you have to come back or win a game with less than 2 minutes left,
right?
There's nobody better than Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. No. There's just nobody better.
There isn't. You're right.
Brady even excels at running time off the clock by throwing the ball out of bounds. I mean,
I agree.
There's nobody. They're both just. I mean, look, Mahomes is even better than Brady, but they're just both those teams are just so good at what they do.
And let's talk Jets for a second because we neglected the Jets.
That's about all. Let's work.
Just for a second.
No, I mean
hold on before we start the Jets. Before we start the Jets.
They are on pace.
Are the Jets gonna win today? No. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no.
There we go.
I like the trombone at the end.
That's great.
Prophetic this week.
It's very.
Let me ask this question. Let me ask this question.
I think we're going to ask.
Who looked better, the Giants or the Jets?
I was just going to say who lived up to the expectations more, the Giants.
The Jets looked better.
Well, the Jets scored one more point than the Giants, right?
But they looked better.
Look, Zach Wilson.
The Jets looked better.
Looked like everything was moving too fast for him in the first half of that game.
Yeah,
he was just
sacked six times. I think throughout the game, 6 times.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
And look, I'm okay with that.
The Jets' offensive line did not look, but the Jets' offensive line got better.
It's a tale of two halves, though, right? Because at the half, Carolina was winning 16-0. If you just take the second half, the Jets won the second half 14-3.
Yeah, things
so.
got better.
Let me ask this: who's a better team, Denver or Carolina?
I don't know. I close.
I would say Carolina, maybe a smidge
because
better.
Of some
of their players.
Yeah, you're talking Christian McCaffrey.
You're just talking Christian McCaffrey.
Robbie Anderson. They do have better players. DJ Moore. They have better players, but
and listen, they have a quarterback wide receiver connection right now with Sam.
And the Jets were on the road.
Sam Bradford-Donald and Robbie Morton Anderson.
So, Robbie Morton Anderson.
And the Jets were on the road. So that factors in a little bit too. It's not a big difference.
No, but I'm not yelling and screaming about the Jets, and
playing
they
Carolina,
were the same old Jets early on, but you got to give these kids
the second half of that football game, gave you a little hope.
I'll tell you what picks I do feel really confident in is how many games the Jets and Giants are going to win.
Yeah, I might have been overly optimistic.
But by doing the prices right and guessing low, I think I'm putting myself in a pretty good position.
Well, just to give you a rehash, Harry, you said the Giants were going to win 7 games and the Jets were going to win 4 games.
Yeah, I think I said 6 for the Giants, and then I changed it to 7.
7, did you?
Yeah, but I think I changed it back to 6.
Pete, you said 9 for the Giants and 6 for the Jets.
All right, so I'm out.
And I said 8 for the Giants and 5 for the Jets. So.
Wow.
So I'm looking like I might go over as well.
Yeah. I think we're all honestly, after week 1, I'm going to say we're all a smidge over on the Giants and a smidge under on the Jets.
But certainly,
I think they're both going to be around 6 or 7 wins.
Look, when I say the Jets,
go ahead. No, if you're a Jet fan, you have probably a better feeling about the game than a Giant fan.
Right. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of Jet games like this where they don't win, but it's close.
Yeah.
There you go.
And listen, this is a building season, right? Mm-hmm. Rookie quarterback, and I assume they're going to get a running back at some point.
Yeah, they don't have a former number 1 pick sitting in the backfield. Wasting his prime years away.
So we want to see growth.
They had 45 yards rushing on Sunday. That's it. 45 yards rushing. Period. That's all they had.
That ain't good.
No.
Who had the most yards? I wonder if we did a comparison of even 5 years ago of average yards rushing per game, taking out the quarterback position. From actual running backs? I'm wondering. I bet it's gone down at least, with the exception of teams like Tennessee and Carolina. I bet it's gone down at least 25%.
It's definitely gone down from how long ago? 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. The passing game is so much more prevalent today.
It was even big 5 years ago.
Even 5 years ago, yeah. So,
but probably the expectation has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you've got a running back that gets close to 3 per carry, you're probably pretty happy. Whereas 10 years ago, you might have been looking at closer to 4. That you really wanted to see.
And it's not an aberration when your quarterback is your leading rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whether
that's by design or because he's trying to save his scalp, those are things.
I think with teams like the Ravens and in years past with Houston and I think you could say that same thing for even Mahomes on certain days. There's a lot of quarterbacks who in years past Cam Newton would have 80 to 100 yards rushing. So I think that there's a lot of guys who even quarterbacks that aren't rushing quarterbacks,
right,
for them to get 50, 60 yards rushing on 4 or 5 carries, 7 carries is not out of the norm.
No, not at all.
That's true.
I just want to point one thing out. The most points fielded on Sunday or week 1 period was by the 49ers. They scored 41 points. But do you happen to know who has the biggest net points? So in terms of differential, like run differential in baseball, point differential in football, who has the highest amount right now? Who would be, based on that stat, in first place in the entire NFL right now?
Just from week 1?
Just from week 1.
Who won the biggest?
New Orleans?
Nope. Who had the biggest?
Texans.
What's? I'm sorry. New Orleans did have the biggest. New Orleans did.
Texans are probably second, right?
No, Texans are not second.
Okay. Cardinals were.
I was trying to get to second. The Saints have the first. The biggest. 35 points is the differential. 38-3. Who has the second biggest?
Cardinals won big, right? That was
Cardinals 25 points. Is one team has 26-point differential.
The Eagles.
The Eagles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the Falcons didn't look good. That's for sure.
They did not look good at all. Matty Ice was melted.
Well, and the other thing about that Packers-Texans game, and I could be wrong on this, but didn't the Texans only have 1 offensive touchdown? Or maybe 2. I think they had 2 rushing touchdowns, and the rest of it was all – I think they scored a touchdown, at least 1 touchdown on defense. And then did they have – I don't know. I think a kick return set up another couple. So, I don't think –
the Texans?
Yeah. I don't think the Texans are going to be able to maintain what they were able to do against the Packers.
The Texans had 2 passing touchdowns
2.
and 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
2 and 2.
Who? Yeah.
And 2, and the rest were field goals then, right? Yeah.
Who threw the passing touchdowns though?
Tyrod Taylor.
Did he throw both?
He threw both of them. Yeah. He was 21 for 33 for 291 yards with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Yeah.
So.
Good for him. I like him. He's not that good, but I like him.
He's not that good, but I like him.
Yeah, nice.
Glowing endorsement.
He's a good kid.
But in any event, yeah. So that's pretty much that. I was shocked by the Packers game too, but you know what? Hey, we've obviously, I mentioned it before. Aaron Rodgers has done it before. Obviously, not all that often. I mean, in his entire career, which is 15 years now, he's only had 4 games like that. This was the 4th. So, you don't think about them. You think about all the other great games he's had. So
sure,
this falls through the cracks, and within a couple of weeks we won't be talking about this anymore. So
let's hope not. I mean, yeah.
But
let's see. I guess Sam Darnold wins the battle of former and current Jet quarterbacks this week, right?
Yeah, this week, yeah.
And Sam Darnold didn't look horrible.
Yeah, look, he threw the ball 35 times.
Yeah.
280 yards, a touchdown.
Yeah.
No INTs.
Mm-hmm.
Put him in the right system, he's fine. Look, when you've got Christian McCaffrey, you can.
When you got Christian McCaffrey rushing for 98 yards and receiving for 89 yards, he was your leading rusher and leading receiver.
Yeah.
And so that's 187 yards. All-purpose yards, 187.
You got McCaffrey, you got DJ Moore, you got Robbie Anderson, and you got Chuba Hubbard.
Right.
And I'll tell you a team that a guy that I think falls. You talk about all of the rookie quarterbacks. I think great bounce back game for Joe Burrow.
Yep.
And that's a game that was destined to be tied. How many? I think when there's tie games, I always think of the Bengals for some reason, or the Bears. It seems like it's always those. But I mean, they were able to win that game, and
with no time left on the clock. They won.
Yeah, and I thought I thought he had a pretty good game.
It was a great bounce back game after his injury last year. That was great, absolutely. But speaking of injuries last year, that's my point. I know I said it before. Christian McCaffrey had 187 all-purpose yards, and he recovered from the same injury basically at the same time that Saquon Barkley had. And Saquon Barkley had 26 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, 20 for 27, 261, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, that's efficient.
Yeah, and a nice day for Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
$127 and a touchdown. So that's.
I have to apologize to Saquon Barkley. I did say he had 26 yards because he had 26 yards rushing. I forgot to include his receiving yards.
Which was 2?
One. He had 1 receiving yard. So it's 27 yards. So he was 160 yards shy of Christian McCaffrey's performance. But hey, you know what? There's a lot of talk right now about Saquon. I hope it doesn't pan out to be what everybody's assuming.
Saquon needs to stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's your number one.
Yeah.
If the offensive line doesn't gel or whatever, as long as he stays healthy, then I don't know. What do you do with him?
I agree.
That's going to be the burning question.
All right.
By the way, just so everybody knows, yours truly leading the picks at 4-1.
Look at that.
Thank you, Miami.
All right.
Never thought I'd say that. You guys are both 3-2, and the coin 2-3. So
there you go. Well, at least the coin is. At least we're beating the coin there, Harry.
Yeah, the coin's New Orleans pick saved them from a dismal 1-4 performance.
That's right. We all took Green Bay, right?
Yeah, we all took Green Bay.
We took Green Bay.
Yeah. So.
And then you and I took the Pats, and
coin took the Pats too. So
the coin took
Pats had that game won.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. So. All right. Shall we do this week?
Miami and New England always split, though. Seems like they always split. Miami seems to be able to get them.
Right. All right. Let me.
All right. Let's do it.
Start this off here. Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right. Well, what do we have this week? I don't even. Well, of course, we have the Jets and the Giants games.
Sure. And the Giants just happens to be the Thursday night game.
Yeah, so let's start with that one.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants against them Washington
football
non-skins.
teamers.
Let's call them the non-skins.
Non-skins.
The Washington non-skins.
I think they should be called the skins. That's what I think.
That would be fine too.
That would insult skeletons. You know.
So you guys are the Giants fans. I'll let you pick first.
Harry.
Harry?
I mean, from what I saw, I think I got to go with the football team from Washington.
All right, Harry's going to go with the Skins. John?
Against my better judgment, I'm going to take the Giants.
This might be a time when the Giants put it together, but Washington's defense is good. Doesn't seem like Daniel Jones is good. I'm trying to leave the book open on him as long as I can, but I'm going to go with...
All right, Dave Gettleman.
I'm going to go with the Skins. And we'll flip the old Quarter. That was a terrible flip. That was not much better.
I mean, the good news is Jones didn't throw any picks.
That's true. All right, coin says tails. And so that is the Giants. So there we go. So
me and the coin are in cahoots.
You and the coin are in cahoots.
It's saying Saquon Barkley's questionable, too. And Evan Ingram and...
Evan Ingram was out last week anyway.
Now they got Shane Lemieux. One of their guards is out. So
I think that's crap.
Yeah.
All right, Patriots at the Jets. Love to see the Jets win this one, but they are not ready yet. I think it's going to be a few more weeks.
I agree.
Depending on their schedule. So
I think you'd all put Pats for all of us.
All right. New England. And the old coin. I have no fingernails. I can't pick it up.
Slide it off.
This is the 1995 quarter.
There you go.
Says tails. Likes the Jets.
No, Pats.
Oh, no, you're right.
Jets are home.
Okay, so everybody's in agreement there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we got, I don't know what else we're picking. Because we each picked a game that we liked. I think that worked out well, so we could do that.
So we can pick a game we like. Go ahead.
I mean, Vegas and Pittsburgh's an interesting matchup.
Go for it. Let's do that one.
Want to do that one?
Sure.
All right, so the Raiders at the Steelers. And Harry, you can go first.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Both teams look pretty darn good. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh at home. Plus, the Raiders seem to be a team that's never can put 2 weeks back to back. So
yeah, it's hard to say if they're going to get over that hump this season or not.
Does
that was a big win for them.
And I think the Ravens sort of beat themselves a little bit, even though don't get me wrong, the Raiders look pretty good, but Baltimore seemed to kick themselves in the tail a little bit there.
A little bit.
Well, I hate the Steelers, so I'm going to take Vegas.
I'm gonna go with Harry. I think the Steelers have this one.
All right. And
it was just at Heinz Field a month and a half ago, so I got to go with that.
So obviously they're living off that good luck. And the coin says heads, which is the home team, which is the Steelers. So I'm out on a limb with that one.
You're on an island.
There goes my lead.
The other interesting game, the one that's I think hardest to call out of all these, is Dallas and the Chargers.
Well, you picked one already.
I know. I'm just saying. The other one seemed like there's a clear. Although I don't know. The other one seemed like there's a clear favorite.
I'm gonna say my pick for the game is the Packers-Lions, and the reason I'm picking that is because of how the Packers played last week and how the Lions actually played in that game against
the
49ers, and they came back. So.
All right, and
go with that. That's the Monday night game too. So,
and it'll determine whether or not this is a real, if the Packers are on life support or not.
Exactly,
and that's in Green Bay. All right, so who do you like in that one, John?
You know what? I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Packers are going to win it. So.
Okay, Harry.
I got to agree. I think the Packers win that game. I mean, I picked them to win the damn Super Bowl, or at least go to the Super Bowl. So
they can't be that bad, and I think obviously
I can't pick against them against Detroit at home.
Yeah, that's a tough. That's a tough.
Imagine if Detroit goes in there and wins on a Monday night.
On Monday night, national televised game.
Yeah, but you know what? Then now, I mean,
stick a fork in them then. Week 2.
You'll just hear Aaron Rodgers going, well, we still got 15 games left.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take Green Bay, too. I mean, now we're seeing maybe what the Lions are capable of, and they'll be taken seriously. Gotcha. So, yeah, I'll go with Green Bay as well. All right, let's see what the old coin says. Coin says tails.
Taking the Tigers.
Taking the Tigers.
All right, and I'm going to
taking the Pistons. What's your game?
Dallas Chargers game is. I'd want to watch that game. I don't want to pick it actually because I don't know.
Well, you got the Dallas Chargers. You got Bills Dolphins.
This is not necessarily a game. This could end up being I'm kind of interested in the Bengals and the Bears. As sort of a game between two, maybe not two good teams, but the Bears are just like, what do they have going for them? The Bengals at least have Joe Burrow.
Right.
The Bears lost by what?
Yeah.
I don't know what they did.
What did the Bears do this week?
The Bears?
Yeah.
They lost to yeah, right. Who the hell did they lose to?
I don't have last week's schedule in front of me.
Oh, the Rams on Sunday night. 34-14 they lost.
Yeah. They look hard.
Yeah. Who are the Rams? Oh, Rams are playing the Colts. That's not going to be. You know what? I'm gonna take the 49ers and the Eagles.
49ers and Eagles. We're shifting. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to decide on the Bengals or the Bears. If in case anybody's interested, I'm going to go with the Bengals.
All right.
I think it's pretty easy to pick the Bengals.
Bengals on that one anyway, but yeah.
I'm gonna I think the 49ers and Philly, just as Philly looked really good, and the 49ers looked pretty good, and
good game.
I picked them to win the division, and I am going to take the 49ers.
All right.
What do you guys like?
John, good. I'm thinking on this one.
You know what? I think the Eagles won. You know, they played a good game, but I think they won because they were playing Atlanta. So I got to go with the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers as well.
Okay.
I think Atlanta's far worse than we even thought they could be.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And they're playing the Bucs this week in Tampa. So
yeah.
Well, that's a game that's ripe for Atlanta to keep it close,
Right.
All right. Coin says tails, which is the 49ers.
49ers, there you go.
So we all agree. So there we go. So we all agree on New England. We all agree on 49ers. The coin is against us all with Detroit. I'm on a limb with Vegas, and we're basically split between Washington and the Giants.
There you go. All right.
Sorry, Jets. It's unanimous. You are unanimous losers.
You are unanimously not going to win the game this week.
So there we go.
All right.
Put this up on the old website. I got to update last week's sheet.
There you go. I did have one more football question, and then we'll do our top 10 because we haven't done one in 2 weeks. One more football question, really quick. I just want both of your opinions based on play this week. And granted, 2 of these quarterbacks did not play the whole game; they played a couple of plays. Which rookie quarterback looked the best? And don't base it on the entire game; just base it on what play you saw of them. Zach Wilson, T-Law, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance? Who would you say?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
I have to agree. Yeah, Mac Jones.
He's exactly where he ought to be.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, I think the 49ers are better with Garoppolo at this point. I think Trey Lance I think Garoppolo is going to be trade bait at the end of this year, depending on what they do. And I think Lance will be in there absolutely next year. Mm-hmm. I think you got something brewing in Chicago that could be. I think you will see Justin Fields in there by week 4.
I'm hoping 14.
Yeah, I know. Yes, we have. Doesn't mean we'll do anything good with a draft pick anyway.
This is true.
So
maybe they can take both number one draft picks.
Trade it for 3, 4 third rounders and give up another Heisman Trophy
and then draft 2 place kickers and a punter with those 3 third-round picks.
No, you'll probably get a safety.
Right. Yeah. Safety with a weird name.
And an outside middle linebacker. And
that's one of the prerequisites.
Yeah. Jabril or a Dory.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I agree. Mac Jones. Mac Jones, here's how I rate it. Whoever looks the least like a rookie is the one that's playing the best, right? So, and Mac Jones fits that.
Mac Jones didn't lose that game for the Patriots.
He didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I think look, and Bill Belichick has not drafted a quarterback in the first round ever, I don't think.
No.
So he realized he had something here. And I think I don't think Mac Jones would do as well as some of these other guys if he was on a shitty team with no offensive line running for his life. I do think Trevor Lawrence showed, he didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a bad game. No. And he's not on a good team. And I think the verdict is out on what's his name as an NFL head coach as well. So I do think that Trevor Lawrence, given the circumstances, is probably a better talent.
Right.
But Mac Jones seemed to he mastered what he needs to do, and that's that short passing game. He didn't have many turnovers, and he put his team in a position to win. They just couldn't hold on.
He's in the right place.
He is.
That game is tailored for what he does well.
Yeah,
but I agree. Trevor Lawrence is more of a talent.
Yeah,
but he's also on a team that's going to give him a lot less support.
Yeah.
So
no. Yep, and I mean, look, Mac Jones is only sacked once. He's 29 to 39, 281 yards, 7.2 average. It's exactly what the Patriots ask out of him. Conversely, he had more yards than Tua. Tua threw an interception. Tua was sacked twice. Tua's QBR was only 39.8.
Mm-hmm.
So he outplayed Tua, who I've also said has been overrated, but his team won. So if you're in the right position on the right, Tua seems to win on the Dolphins. You could argue statistically that Fitzpatrick was a better quarterback last year for the Dolphins.
Yeah, definitely.
But
we said it all last year.
They seem to win with Tua in there. So good for them. I mean, look, the NFC East could get interesting. I mean, the AFC East could get interesting.
Agreed.
Maybe the Bills are not as good as we thought they were. Maybe Miami's better than they were. Maybe New England's not as great as what everybody's predicting, and maybe the Jets can squeak out a few wins. Still think the Jets finish at the bottom of that division, but I think those other three teams could battle each other all year long for whoever wins that division.
Yeah. And listen, we talk about Belichick and Brady, the quarterback whisperer or whatever. Tom Brady was not drafted necessarily to be the next quarterback of New England. He's
almost not drafted.
Yeah. It's not like, he was a third rounder that fortunately he fell to where he was the guy they wanted,
Right.
He was the guy that was there and was the best of the rest, so to speak, and only got in the game because Bledsoe got hurt. So, but I think Belichick, conversely, you could say that Mac Jones might be a much better pick than Tom Brady was. Not necessarily in performance, but in the mindset and picking the right guy for the job in Mac Jones.
Sure.
And having a system that is going to work for him. And that's what makes Belichick so great. Right?
And
we always talk about coaches, put your players in the best position to win.
Right.
I don't think there's anyone better than Bill Belichick at doing it.
And I think Mac Jones is in a position to against the Jets to come back, and maybe have a bounce back game against a team that's maybe not quite as good as the Dolphins. And, maybe boost his confidence even more. So we'll see.
A lot of the Jets, wins or losses are going to come down to their defense too.
Mm-hmm. And the Jets defense
talk about a tale of two halves, right? Both offensively and defensively.
Sure.
For the Jets, it's hard to say, obviously, at this point, how good either one is, but certainly both sides of the ball, they were a better team in the second half.
Sure. I agree. They won the second half 14-3. So,
I think that was a big decision, and why I said the Jets had played better than the Giants, because I think offensively, you could argue maybe it was a wash. Maybe the Jets a little better, but I think defensively, as far as the whole game, I think the Jets look better than the Giants.
Yeah, they did. The Giants' defense did not look like anything like I thought they would. Coming off of last year, they were not a bad defense last year. They were, at times a really good defense, to be quite honest with you. And, and they did not play that way at all this year. And they
especially against the
same
pass
defense.
Weren't they number 10 against the pass last year?
They were great against the pass. They had great D-backs, and their linemen were pretty damn good too, between Leonard Williams and Blake Martinez. They did not play at all. And we're talking just the Broncos here. And no offense to Denver by any means, but we're not talking about the Bucs here. We're not talking about the Packers, Saints. We're talking about the or the Chiefs or what have you. We're talking about
it was the turnover and that touchdown that Denver scored at the end of the first half that just turned the game around.
That was it. Yeah.
There's no reason the Giants should have went into the half down.
Right. Yeah.
That's what turned the game around.
Agreed. All right.
All right. Real quick, we'll be talking about schedule anomalies and weird
go
things,
for the schedule stuff.
This was a quick one. 4 teams this season have to play their first 2 games on the road: Cowboys, Broncos, Vikings, and 49ers. And 2 teams that close the season with 2 straight road games, and that is the Chiefs and the Panthers.
La-ti-da.
So it's only a couple of games, but still, if you're the Chiefs, that kind of sucks.
Right.
You're one of the better teams in the NFL the last few years.
Sure, and you got to remember the last 2 games of the season here too are both in January. It's not just 1 game in January; it's 2 games in January because they added the extra week. Yeah. So the Chiefs are playing their last home game, right around Christmas, and then 2 weeks on the road in January before the playoffs. So
there we go.
Assuming they're going to the playoffs, but
assuming, right.
But in any event, all right.
So that's it. Little tidbit. Nothing major.
All right. That brings us to our top 10 list that we haven't done in 2 weeks. And it's one that we have left over from 3 weeks ago when we did the special top, what it was, about 35 bands we did from the 80s.
Yeah.
It's hard to get them down.
It is very difficult to get them down. And I'll put it up this week. We're gonna wrap that week up with top 10, and I put 15 in there because it's really 15 or more. Old school wrestlers. We're going to do professional wrestling. Here we go. Excuse me.
And this was we decided was the pre-WrestleMania
area.
Although, did any of them actually participate in WrestleMania kind of towards the end of their career? But the bulk of their career was before their heyday. In other words, much like the band's heyday was in the 80s, the wrestlers' heyday was kind of pre-WrestleMania.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, I could tell you when that was, but about the same time in the 80s. I don't know.
There you go. Now we're obviously going to do this differently than we did. More like we did with the bands, and even less than we did with the bands, really, because we're not
just read them off.
We're just going to be talking about them, but I'll just read them all off. We have 15. We have a tie, a two-way tie for 9th, for 8th, a three-way tie for 6th, and a two-way tie for 2nd. So I'll just read them off. Number 10, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes. Bring up whatever you want about these as I rattle them off. I'm sure as we get further up the list, we'll talk more a little bit about each.
Didn't she sing You Don't Have to Say You Love Me? Wasn't that Dusty Rhodes?
Dusty Springfield, wasn't it?
Dusty Rhodes and Adrian Adonis were two guys that should never have their shirt off that made a living doing that. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
I can't believe you knew that, by the way, John. I think you're correct about that. I can't believe it.
That's Dusty Springfield, which was a guy, wasn't it?
No, that was a woman.
Well,
I know, joking.
Not till later in life.
All right.
Yeah,
that's Rick Springfield.
Rick Springfield.
Right. Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes, number 9. Tied for number 9, we have Ivan Putski and Jerry Lawler. Tied for 9.
Lawler, I don't remember too much. Putski, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're just good wrestlers. These were just like solid men.
Lawler, if you watch any of the actual documentaries or the movie about Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler played a big role in that, and they had those infamous appearances on Letterman and everything like that. And Jerry Lawler was in on the whole thing, and he was so good at what he did with Andy Kaufman. And so Jerry Lawler is an interesting guy, I think, and he was culturally, I think he maybe helped get wrestling a little bit into the not mainstream, but at least out of just the wrestling world and into the greater cultural dialogue, and maybe just for his name and his antics on talk shows and not even watching him wrestle. So I give him credit for that. He might have been a precursor to a lot of the crossover stuff that happened later. But he was a smart guy who knew how to play the game. He was a good talker, and he was good at sort of convincingly make you think that he wasn't in on it.
Right. That was pretty funny. Yeah, that, and also, of course, Tony Clifton.
That's right. Tony Clifton never wrestled, not that we know of. Although no one's ever seen Tony Clifton and Ivan Putski at the same time.
This is true. This is true. Or our two number 8s on our list either.
That's right.
Tied for number 8, we had Don Morocco and Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter, I just remembered, probably spit more than anybody else when he talked.
Oh, hell yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He actually took a sip of water.
And I was so disappointed as a kid when I found out he wasn't a sergeant.
Well, that was his given name, right? First name Sergeant, last name Slaughter.
That's right.
Yeah, was he the model for, what was the comic strip? Tank McNamara, I think.
Tank McNamara.
I think he was kind of, the other guy who reminds me of Sergeant Slaughter is Bill Cower. Yeah, I mean, and then a bunch of cartoon characters are like a composite of like Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah,
sort of that massive chin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I had a track coach who kind of reminded me of Sergeant Slaughter, but yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, have we ever seen Sergeant Slaughter? Have we ever seen Sergeant Slaughter and Bill Cower together?
Yeah, I mean they dated for a while, but
all right.
briefly back in the late 70s.
They were at Adrian Adonis's wedding together.
Yes, they were. The gifts they brought was nice. It was nice. So
Bill Cower probably would have been a good wrestler.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. All right, 7. We have on his own at number 7. We have Pedro Morales.
Mr. 7.
Mr. 7. Tonight's Pedro Mr. Morales. 7 is Pedro Morales.
One of my favorite Pedros.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a great wrestler.
Now, Pedro Morales, would that be Mr. Siete?
Senor Siete.
Senor Siete. Yeah. There you go. Senor Siete.
If we're going to speak the language.
This is true. You can't mix it up. True. What am I thinking? Mr. 7 or Senor Siete, Pedro Morales. There we go. All right, we have 3 number 6s.
Oh.
3 number 6s. We're going to take these one at a time. Just quick. Chief J. Strongbow.
Yeah, you guys had him high on your list.
Chief J. Strongbow.
I think of him more as a groundbreaker in tag team wrestling. You know, I think of the Chief J and what was his supposed brother, the Strongbow brothers.
Strongbow brothers.
Chief J and Running Bull, or I don't know. I can't remember.
They make cider now, right?
That's right.
Strongbow cider. Yeah. But,
who was the other guy?
Running Bear, wasn't it?
Running Bear. There you go.
I have no idea. Strongbow is a guy. Lucky he stood for everything that was good and right about the sport, right?
He's from Nutley.
Chief J. Strongbow?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Nutley, New Jersey.
There we go.
He went to high school with Martha Stewart, didn't he?
Probably.
And he was kind of the inspiration for Hogan's hulking up or whatever, right? Didn't Strongbow used to,
I don't know,
like get pumped up? He'd be getting his ass
Sonny
kicked.
King.
Sonny King.
He'd
be getting beat up, and then he would like start to get mad, and then turn things around.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's weird about it, his on-screen brother was Jules, Jay and Jules Strongbow.
Jay and Jules. Okay.
And I always remember them fighting the Wild Samoans, Af and Sika. Chief J. Strongbow, not Native American.
No.
He's Italian.
Luke Scarpa.
Yeah, Ivan Putski probably wasn't Polish.
Well, maybe.
He might have been, but... No,
who was the other Polish wrestler? Was he the Polish Hammer, Ivan Putski?
The Polish Hammer. That's not it.
I think so.
Polish Hammer. We have nothing but.
That was Ivan Putski. Yeah.
It is Ivan Putski. Yeah. There you go. Ivan Putski. There you go.
Yeah, he's a scary dude.
But yeah,
wasn't really tall, but he was just built like an actual fucking brick shithouse.
Shithouse. In a technical term.
Just a large
man.
solid man.
Just a big, hairy, bulging man.
There you go. All right. Moving on to our other number, our second number 6, if you will, would be George the Animal Steel.
Oh, maybe my favorite.
George the Animal Steel.
Why
would anyone want to actually touch him in the ring?
Well, he looked like the guy from that Pixies. I always thought that was him on the Pixies album cover, you know. But and I could be wrong on this, but I think I'm right. I think he was he was a teacher. I think he taught algebra in like New Jersey. Yeah. So right. Yeah, he was great. I mean, it takes a certain person to say, "Hey, I'm just going to eat the turnbuckle and then slam somebody's head into it."
He was I'm not sure what he taught, but he was an amateur wrestling coach and football coach at Madison High School in Madison Heights, Michigan, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So, but and his real name, George the Animal Steel, is William Myers.
So. Byron Thistlewick.
Byron Thistlewick.
Well, we also had a football referee in New Jersey, and the rumor was that he was George the Animal Steel's brother. So, but who knows?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
this is true. All right. Moving on to our third and final number 6, if you will. That would be Jesse the Body Ventura. Jesse Ventura. That was there we go. James George Llanos is his real name.
Of course.
So, not Jesse
look, he was this. If there was anyone who we thought was a caricature as a wrestler who actually turned out to be kind of really the way he is, it was Jesse, right?
Absolutely.
Freaking I mean, he was governor, right?
He was governor of Minnesota for 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. And he's a freaking nut job, but we love him for that.
And he brought the boa really into dominance.
He was actually he was born in Minneapolis. He was actually mayor of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, in the early 90s. And then in 99 he became governor of Minnesota.
Yeah.
But ironically, if you think about it, though, you think about the movie Predator. Jesse the Body Ventura and Arnold Schwarzenegger both became governors out of that movie.
Yeah. Insane.
Gotta love it. So there you go.
I think all of these guys are Hall of Famers, by the way.
Absolutely.
WW. That's right.
Absolutely. All right. That gets us to number 5. Number 5 on his own is Mr. Ric Flair. Ric Flair.
Never one of my favorites.
No, and he was really big in the Southern. What is that? The AMA or the AWA, the American Wrestling Association.
Yeah.
And we didn't really see that a lot until every once in a while they showed it late at night on other. So there's a lot of crossover. But Ric Flair was huge. He was.
Yeah.
He lasted forever. Just seems like he lasted.
Wasn't he the first woo guy? Wasn't that him?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Richard Morgan Fleer, Flehr is his birthday. So anyway,
he was good at his job. I'll give him that.
He was.
Yeah, he rocked. I remember him rocking the kimono robes. He also used to flip his hair a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of flamboyancy in the wrestling.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, he was kind of one of that group of the
he never did much.
Pretty boys.
He never did much for me, but I guess he was a good wrestler.
Yeah.
A little bit. All right. That brings us to number 4. Number 4 on his own is Mr. Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, Bruno.
Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, no,
and
Bruno.
he also has the distinction of having being one of the only wrestlers on his list that actually is named his own name. He was born Bruno Sammartino.
And I think he had a son, too, who became a wrestler, right? Junior? Bruno Sammartino Jr.?
I believe you're right.
Now, was he an
Bruno
actual...
Leopoldo Francisco Sammartino. He was actually born in Italy.
Was he an actual, real, legitimate wrestler before he was a fake wrestler?
Bruno Sammartino? Yeah, I think so.
Didn't he win Olympic gold or something like that?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He was one of because there were a few guys that were, legitimate.
He's from Piso Ferrato, Italy, and then he lived in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Dubbed the Italian strongman and the strongest man in the world early in his career. He later earned the title, the Living Legend, for his powerful bear hug. So there you go. So Bruno Sammartino. All right. Moving on to number 3, we have Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Oh man, nobody better.
Yeah,
nobody better.
If you didn't like Snuka, there was something wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's somebody coming up on our list that when I think of Snuka, I think of him, and we'll talk about it next. But their interaction together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Epic.
Legendary, yeah.
Absolutely.
Epic. And look, that first cage match where he jumped off the top of the cage, oh my God. Mm-hmm. Even just the first time I saw him jump off the top rope, that's all you wanted. I just waited to see Jimmy Snuka. His personal life got a little crazy towards the end, but we're not going to talk about that.
You knew what you were getting with him, and he didn't disappoint.
No.
And it was still good, even when you knew what was coming.
Yes.
And he was actually also, that's his name, James Snuka. He was born James Wiley Snuka. Superfly was not his middle name. No.
And the only person on this list that I ever sat next to at a bar.
There you go.
Still, James Wiley Snuka is a pretty good name.
James Wiley Snuka, yeah. And where was that? Where was that bar?
I'm not going to say. It was in Harrison, New Jersey.
Was it in Nutley?
Oh, okay.
It was not. My cousin was with me. We were avoiding family.
Yeah, I seem to remember that. Yeah. So anyway, all right. That brings us to we have 2 number 2s tied for number 2. Our first one is going to be Mr. Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah. I mean, when you take wrestling ability, his skill at just sort of reinventing the sport, his ability to actually wrestle people much bigger than him, and Piper's corner and his verbal skills. I mean, I think he was number 1 on my list. At least he should have been.
He was number 1 on your list.
No, nobody better. And Roddy Piper.
Snuka was number 2 on your list.
Piper's corner and all that, and all of Roddy Piper's shenanigans. He was amazing. He was amazing. And, he's actually a pretty good actor. He was in a couple decent films, and
he was
just an interesting guy. And even as a kid, he was kind of a villain and not a villain, and he came back. But Piper's Corner, when he bashed that coconut on Jimmy Snuka's head, he really did bash him in the head with a coconut.
He did.
And Snuka did not know. That's why when you watch footage of that, and it seems so chaotic and nobody's coming and nobody knows what's going on, and it took everybody so long to kind of come in, as opposed to the usual wrestling fights where everybody's right there right away. No one knew that he was going to do that. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, I don't know if there was ever a villain that people loved more than Rowdy Roddy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you hated him, but you had to love him.
Yeah. I never hated him. I always loved him. But I always rooted for Hulk Hogan to lose, or I couldn't wait for Bob Backlund to lose the belt. I wanted Don Morocco to win.
You were always that other way.
I wanted the Iron Sheik to win. He deserved it.
Just for having to wear those shoes.
That's
right.
My
God, right?
That's right. Imagine actually really getting kicked at those things. Right. Damn.
And they're sitting backstage thinking, "Oh, my feet hurt."
That's right. Yeah.
There you go. But yeah. All right. Well, there you go. And on that note, also tied for number 2 would be Bob Backlund.
You guys put him way too high on your list.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think.
Come on, he was a real wrestler.
I think he was. He was a real wrestler.
Pete had him as number 2. John had him as number 2. I had him as number 37.
He did nothing but win.
Well, yeah, he won. Okay, sure. It was.
Okay, but
he won.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's true of everybody, right?
Of course.
Won or lost. It was in the script.
God, he was. He was so boring,
and
yeah, he really was,
and that was his. Well, he was right because that was his
thing.
That was his thing. He was the boring winner.
And listen, you needed that, right? This is kind of the old.
No, you didn't.
Wasn't flamboyant. He wasn't out on the edge there. He was.
It was a balance, and this is kind of the old: is the dynasty good for sports or bad for sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first time I saw it fixed that he'd lost to Andre the Giant. I'm like, all right, this guy is just going to be here for as long as the management wants him to be.
He won his first WWF competition in '78. He beat superstar Billy Graham.
Yeah, who was a big guy, and then he went into became a priest, right, or a minister. Yeah.
So, but
he
beat
the same guy.
Yeah,
he beat Billy Graham.
and then he wrestled Larry Graham.
You could have said yes, and I would have believed you. I don't know.
It seems like
Billy
it should
Graham,
be, right?
The Shyster priest was Billy Graham, the Shyster wrestler. That's amazing. I never would have thought.
That's right.
I would have bought it. You guys could have carried.
Backlund came from the South too, though.
Yeah, but he won. He held the championship for 5 years.
Oh yeah,
it seemed like 83, 83 until he lost to the Iron Sheik in 83.
Mm-hmm.
So, but 5 years. But anyway,
so his early title wins were against Mr. Fuji, Ivan Koloff, George the Animal Steele, Ken Patera. Remember him? Oh yeah,
Patera. Yeah,
another Olympic wrestler. I remember them billing that as or he was a weightlifter or something. I don't know. Remember them billing that as the two, Olympic guys or something.
Yeah, well, Backlund had the scientific method.
And then he beat Antonio Inoki. I remember
Antonio
that.
Inoki. He beat Antonio Inoki, yep.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the guy that fought Ali?
Yes.
The same guy that fought Ali?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. But and then there was always those cage matches against Billy Graham.
Then he actually teamed up with Antonio Inoki in 1980 in Japan and beat in a tag team match Hulk Hogan and Stan Henson.
That was a great day, even if you weren't a Backlund fan.
And I think not only was he I could be getting this wrong, but I think he was to make it worse. I couldn't wait for him to lose and then to throw salt on the open wound. Then he won the tag team championship as well, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah, I think he beat the Wild Samoans. So I was just like,
they
Bob
had
Backlund.
Yeah.
Listen, the guys that were running the show in the suits, they realized they had a horse and they were going to ride it.
They rode that horse for 5 years.
Okay, now he's got to lose, so now he's going to be a champion again. He'll just do a tag team.
That guy definitely knew how to shave his chest, though. He was silky smooth.
Exactly.
That's why the ladies loved him.
He was
what?
He was definitely no George Animal.
Yeah. I mean, suspense there for a minute. He was no George Animal Steel.
That was an interesting match when they wrestled each other.
That's for sure. Yeah, it was.
I mean, Bob Backlund. I mean, you're right. Just so boring.
I know. All right.
Yeah. Here's one thing that did gain some points for me in the weird, because I thought Bob Backlund did nothing weird, but he's probably broke. He actually won the Juggalo Championship Wrestling, or wrestled in the actual Insane Clown Posse wrestling tournament in 2009. Or something like that.
I didn't know there was one of those that
year. Yeah, neither did I.
I thought that didn't start till 2011.
Yeah. So it's just Bob Backlund also always reminded me of somebody. I can't really put my finger on who he looks like. There's somebody that I don't know who there's something about him that he reminds me of somebody else. And it's always on the tip of my tongue, and I can't quite put it there. But hey, Bob Backlund, number 2, number 3?
He was number 2. He's number
2, number 1 in their hearts.
There you go. And then we have 4. Hold on one second. And then we only have one number 1. One number 1. That's it. I just had to put this up here because I want to show that when we do number 1. Number 1 tonight, our number 1 wrestler on this list is none other than Mr. Andre Rene Rosimov, better known as Andre the Giant.
God, man, what a legend.
Right? Unbelievable.
And great in The Princess Bride.
Absolutely. He one of my favorite movies. Awesome. I just love every line he had was just amazing. And I just want to point one thing out to you. He really was a big man.
He was insane. He could drink 2 cases of beer in one sitting or something like that.
Take a look at this picture. The can of beer in this picture is a regular 12-ounce can of beer.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a tiny little, slim can or whatever. It's a 12-ounce, regular 12-ounce can of beer. Here you go. There.
Yeah.
Look at his hand. That's a 12-ounce can of beer.
Think
about how your hand looks around a 12-ounce can of beer.
It looks like a toy from the child supermarket. Right.
Have you guys seen the documentary about him?
Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah.
There's some great stories of where it took 4 guys to get him. He used to have to sometimes sleep in the bathtub, because he could. It was just.
There's a great.
He'd do his business in the bathtub, I should say, because he couldn't. He would break toilets.
Right.
I mean, just.
There's a great picture of him and Schwarzenegger.
Right.
And
Nick Schwarzenegger looked tiny.
Yeah, and who else? What's his name? Was it Wilt?
Wilt the Still?
Who was in the Conan the Barbarian movie?
Who was in? Was it? No. I'm not sure.
Anyway, so we think of Schwarzenegger, who's not particularly tall, but we think of him, bodybuilder and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
And he looks like a 14-year-old standing between. These 2 guys.
Right, exactly.
I think they're holding him up, actually, or something like that. Maybe. Lifting him up with one finger. But
stop rhyming now. I mean it. Anybody want a peanut? Is
it's
comedic gold.
As far as gigantic sports stars who later appeared in movies, much better performance than George Murison.
Imagine them in a 2-man play. You would have to have subtitles, even if they did it in English.
Their version of Waiting for Godot is legendary.
It is really good. I heard he was going to star in the Jeff Daniels play that's currently on Broadway, Death of a Salesman. But
he plays Biff.
That's it.
He plays Biff. Yeah, exactly.
Did he ever win the championship, Andre the Giant? He must have.
Yeah, no, he did.
I think at some
he did.
point.
But for forever, they just never allowed him. And that those matches with Hulk Hogan. Oh God,
absolutely. That rivalry was something. And then he earlier on, even like prior to Hulk Hogan, he was like him and the Iron Sheik and Killer Khan. He was used to wrestle Killer Khan. I remember almost every match you'd see them, or every other match you'd see them. But yeah, that was probably one of the best things I've seen was his portrayal of Fezzik in Princess Bride. That was great.
Is this maybe just me? And this is an incorrect term,
right?
Politically incorrect term. But didn't Andre the Giant wrestle like 8 midgets at once? Didn't they used to have like the midgets, like 5 midgets wrestle one guy? Yeah,
I think I recall that. Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. Yeah,
I remember seeing that one night and going, "All right, this is entertainment."
Mm-hmm. It's just a little bit,
yeah. Wrestling was dark and weird in the early days. It was not family friendly.
No, not at all. Not even anywhere close to what it is right now.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah,
he was 520 pounds.
520, 7'4", 520.
God, he was only 46 when he died.
46 years old, yeah. So, but insane. But yeah, kudos to our number one.
There you go, number one in our hearts.
A number one wrestler on the list tonight, Andre the Giant. He was number 3 on your list.
Yeah.
So, number 4 on Pete's, number 1 on mine. So
he wasn't that exciting of a wrestler because I think earlier on before he got there, he because he sort of aged so rapidly due to his gigantism. He supposedly early on in his career, and I think it was in Japan and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He was that big, but was much more athletic.
Right.
Yeah. And supposedly was just insane. There's not much footage of it, but he was. It just took its toll on him. Really.
Yeah, he had a lot of back problems.
Yeah. And by the way, literally growing out of his body.
Yeah. He was.
By the way, it was Wilt Chamberlain in the.
It was Wilt.
It was Conan the Destroyer, not the Barbarian.
Oh, the Destroyer. I got you.
So I guess Andre was visiting the set one day, so there's this big with 3 of them, and Schwarzenegger looks tiny compared to obviously Andre the Giant and how tall is Wilt Chamberlain?
7
feet.
7'3",
Yeah, so it's quite funny.
Couple other names. I'll just quick mention them. Ones that did not make the list, but deserve mention because we don't do wrestlers all the time here, obviously. Jake the Snake Roberts, Iron Sheik, whatchamacallit, Haystacks Calhoun, Killer Khan, Ivan Koloff, Killer Kowalski.
The Russian
is where I was getting there.
Killer. That's one of the great names.
Killer Kowalski. There you go. All right. Well, that's our top 10 list.
Tag team with Putski?
I don't know, but Kowalski and Putski. Killer Kowalski and Ivan Putski. And what about Ivan Putski and Ivan Koloff? The Ivans.
The Ivans.
There you go. So anyway, but all right, that's our top 10 for tonight, wrestlers. We'll get back to doing some football ones next week, and next week is our 52nd show, and since we had the 1 week off in August, it's actually our 1 year anniversary. So it's our 52nd show and our anniversary show as well. So we'll have a couple of fun things planned for that night as well. Anything basketball you want to mention? Anything else?
No.
Going on? Nothing? I didn't think so. Not I. So yeah, but next week we'll have fun with our anniversary show and our 52nd show. It'll be technically it's more like 60 because we did those special.
I might not be able to actually do it next week, but I'm gonna do my best.
I know you're going to be closer to us.
Closer, but farther.
Oh,
we should mention is
I've never done it on my phone before, but I guess I can try.
We had our last 2 beer podcast guests actually did it from their phones, so it can be done.
What we should mention is the U.S. Open, perhaps.
This is true.
Quite
particularly on the female side.
That's a great story. It really
is.
It
is.
Two
not one
qualifiers in the finals.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think for maybe the first time a qualifier's ever been there. Maybe there was one other qualifier who made it to the finals. I don't think so. I think a couple made to the semis, but so two of them. So it was destined that this be the year that a qualifier won the U.S. Open, and it was, I can't pronounce her name.
Emma Raducanu.
There you go, Raducanu.
Thank you, sir.
She's Canada? From Canada. Yeah.
Canada.
She's from Australia.
Yeah, really good match.
It was really fun. It was good, and a great story too. It really was.
And then I don't did Djokovic win? No, he didn't.
No, he lost. I mean, look, I was really pulling for him, but he just had a bad day, and he had to play the number 2 guy in the finals after going through, another person who he had lost to 2 times. So I mean, he had a much more, he had tougher competition than they were making it out to be. And I just think it's been a long year for him, especially with his decision to play in the Olympics and everything else. It would have been an incredible story, and I still think he's going to go down as, at least for a while here, as the best ever. He'll win another major, and it would have been nice to see it. It's hard to do, though. Nobody's done it since 1969, so it's obviously a really hard thing to do.
Would have been a legitimate slam.
Yeah. Slam, yeah.
I think there's been a couple of wraparounds, maybe, but.
Yeah. Are you talking about your OnlyFans again?
A couple of wraparounds.
Well, listen.
Do we have an
trademark term?
Do we have an over-under on the show?
I do not. I have an over-under, but
maybe for next week.
I need some batteries.
Oh, to figure out the over-under?
No, it's something that uses batteries.
Oh,
it just won't be.
It won't be the same.
And it won't be the same if it's not.
How many vibrators does he have on the show?
If you follow him on OnlyFans, you'll know better.
You'll see next week. I will batterytize them. You'll see next week. It'll be quite fun.
All right. So, just take them out of your smoke detectors.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, well, those are hard.
Well, those things don't use 9-volt, though.
You never know.
Well, these are.
I don't know what he's talking about. He could have an old, handheld ColecoVision game. I don't know what he has.
This is true. It could be.
They're actually. That's an over/under we could do.
That is an interesting thing. There were way more things that used 9-volt batteries back in the day.
Yeah, there's a lot less now. Most
radios,
AA and AAA now.
Yeah, nothing uses 9 volts except smoke detectors.
That's it, pretty much. Smoke detectors.
And guitar pedals.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If you have batteries in it.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if the I don't know if the lithium technology or something didn't translate to the shape of the battery, or it doesn't really make any sense.
Jimmy, look into that and have a summary for us next week.
Jimmy, check that out, please, and have us a report on it. So. All right. So next week, show 52. We got the over/under on Pete's battery usage.
Battery-operated device.
Battery-operated devices. That'll be the.
So that's what it is. How many battery-operated devices?
No, there's specific type of battery-operated.
Are you going to tell us what
type?
I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to show you.
But you're not going to give it to us until next week. The over-under.
Correct, because it's not powered. It doesn't have the batteries that are in it died.
Okay.
And it's much. I don't want to show it unless it's able.
But we'll have an answer next week too.
Yes.
We'll see what it is. We'll have an over/under, and we'll guess it.
Yeah, I'll say here it is. I'll demonstrate because it's actually going to be quite a lot of fun.
It's my favorite part of the podcast.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be quite a lot of fun, and then we'll do the over/under right there.
Perfect. All right, so we got that going. It's show 52. It's our 1-year anniversary, and we got a lot more football for you. So. On that note, we will wrap up the show for this evening. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of the shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern Time. For those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Plus, the show is now available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch a lot of sports. Get entertained by week 2 of the NFL. And coming up on the third to last or the third to last MLB weekend as well. And we will talk to you soon. Take care, guys. Cheers.
There you go. Oh, yeah. By the way, go to the website and look at the picks.
Yes,
blog,
check out
and you will see. I got to update last week's picks and put this week's up there. But there's also a champion certificate, which goes, of course, to Jersey Johnny from last season. Finally got that up there. So
thank you.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Look at that.
Check that out on the website, and we'll put up the 2021 season predictions as well. What we had on the show earlier too. We'll put that up on the website as well. So check that all out, and we will talk to you soon, folks. Cheers.
Peace.